On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
The Two Mics on Talk Sport.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, and you're listening to the Two Mics on Extra Time. We're going to be keeping you entertained throughout the night. We've been talking about Brendan Rodgers because he's not very happy that Daniel Sturridge is going to be out from 3 to 6 weeks, supposedly, because he got injured while he was playing for England.
We're obviously disappointed, because we feel it's an injury that could have been prevented, but he's hopefully maybe 1 to 2 weeks away, which is disappointing for him because he's worked so hard over the pre-season, and as I said, he looked very fit and strong in his last game against Tottenham. So, but hopefully, as I said, it shouldn't be too long.
Hopefully it shouldn't be too long, as Liverpool fans are not going to be too happy. Liverpool, Aston Villa, of course, is a TalkSport live commentary game at 5:30 tomorrow afternoon. Coming up in this hour, we're going to be talking to a telepathy teacher and owner of the Telepathy Academy, because he's going to be teaching Porky how he can do his experiment without making a complete and utter dog's breakfast of it. Plus, of course, we'll be taking your calls as well, 08717 22 3344. You're listening to Extra Time with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on TalkSport. This is TalkSport Extra Time with the Two Mics. He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. There's been an awful lot of interest in the croquet conversation we were having earlier.
Oh, really?
Dave has tweeted at the Two Mics. I just Googled croquet hoops. He says, I thought they were looped at the top as well. And they actually are. If you look at the picture, they're definitely not square. They are slightly hooped at the top. And that is absolutely the point. You've also managed to raise the heckles of a few people because of your ridiculous story about me spending a lot of money on a bottle of champagne.
Yeah.
People saying, it's a disgrace. People work very hard for their money. Well, I work very hard for my money as well.
Yeah.
And I'm entitled to spend it any way I like. So I don't really understand why people would get upset just because I spend a fair amount of money once in a while on a decent bottle of champagne.
Well, I think to spend £75 on a bottle of champagne is actually almost immoral. I mean, you wouldn't see me doing it.
I wouldn't see you doing it at all, no.
Oh, well,
you drink that cheap Pinot Grigio nonsense rubbish, don't you?
No, I drink expensive Pinot Grigio.
Do you?
It's a quality wine, but I wouldn't waste £75 on a bottle of champagne. Do you know why?
Why not?
Champagne is a passing fancy.
It's for celebration and for rare occasions when something is worth celebrating. I was personally celebrating the arrival of my beautiful daughter, who's come to live in Britain again for about, the foreseeable future. So I thought it was worth spending it on her. That happened
the 5 days before.
Yeah, but that was the first opportunity I had to do it.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
because Emma, your daughter, lovely daughter, a beautiful blonde girl, came to our live show last Friday night. Yeah. So we had plenty of opportunity to celebrate with her after the show, because we did celebrate after the show. And I didn't see you splashing around buying bottles of champagne before or after that show, right?
No, I didn't buy champagne.
No.
Why would I waste it on you? You've just told me you wouldn't like it.
I don't like champagne.
You don't like champagne?
Champagne is for posers.
It's not at all.
It's for posers. Honestly, the champagne set, as far as I'm concerned...
champagne on you.
Do you know what the funny thing is? I can't drink champagne out of a flute. Now, it's
Why
because,
not?
well, bubbles go straight up my nose and make me feel odd. And
well,
it
you
tastes...
look odd. You might as well feel odd.
I'll just ignore that. Just blatantly bland and stupid comment. I mean, it doesn't contribute anything to this show.
For somebody...
It doesn't contribute anything to the show. Let me just finish, please. So with a flute, the balls go up your nose. It tastes a bit like tar to me because it's confined in such a small, narrow neck, if you see what I mean. However... I don't mind if I've got to drink champagne.
You don't like it in a flute because you can't get enough of it in, that's why.
Drinking it in a flat glass. Now, what do you call that? What do you call a flat glass?
What, like a goblet, you mean?
No, like a flat champagne glass. The sort of thing that you used to see
like
George
a champagne
Best
cocktail glass.
Yes, stacking up one after the other.
That's a champagne cocktail. It's like a martini glass.
Yeah, well, that sort of thing. I don't mind drinking out of that sometimes. But basically, I don't like champagne. It's too bubbly. It's got an aftertaste. It makes me ill. And
remind me never to waste any of it on you.
No, I think it's a drink for posers. I think it's for posers only.
Well, it's for celebrating, as far as I'm
because there's no
concerned.
quality in champagne. The quality is in wine, white or red. Champagne is a bastardisation of all that's good about the grape.
No, I actually went to the Champagne Carbs once of Mum's down in Reims, down in France, which was a wonderful place to go, and you could actually see how they make it. And I was quite surprised to see that they put a little bit of liqueur into champagne. Of
course they do.
Realise. But the Champagne grapes are very, very well, highly prized, and they grow in only the Champagne region of France. And you can't call it champagne unless you use Champagne grapes from the Champagne region of France.
I know that.
That's how specialised it is. So don't tell me that it is in any way sort of, cobbled together.
Since you've been down there, an expert on it, how do they inject the bubbles?
How do they inject the bubbles?
Yeah.
They don't inject the bubbles.
Where do the bubbles come from?
Bubbles come from fermentation.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
Well, how do you stop wine getting bubbles then?
I have no idea.
See, you haven't got a clue.
Because they use a different grape.
You haven't got no, it's nothing to do with the grape. They do inject gas into champagne.
Do they?
Everybody knows that.
Well, I didn't do it when I was watching them.
Well, they do. They do.
Have you been to Reims to see how they make it?
I don't need to go to Reims to see how they make it. I know exactly how champagne is made.
Well, tell me how they do it then.
They inject gas into it, I'm
How?
telling you. Into the vat.
Into the vat?
Into the vat,
Really?
where it's being distilled. And how do I know that?
It's not distilled.
I saw
It's
it
not a
done.
spirit.
I saw it done in Stellenbosch.
Did you?
Yeah, Stellenbosch.
Well,
when
they
I
don't
was
make
there.
champagne in Stellenbosch.
They do, of a fashion.
They're not allowed to make champagne.
They make a fizzy wine, and that's how they do it. They inject the gas into it.
No, maybe that's what they do in Stellenbosch. They don't do that in Reims.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Of course. Well, how else do you get the bubbles in?
I don't know.
Do you think the bubbles are magical?
It's a magical process.
The magic bubble?
Well, because, it's
Rubbish.
a magical process, a magical drink, and it's used for magical occasions, of which you've never had. So that's why you never celebrate anything.
How come they make champagne in California?
They can't make champagne there.
They can.
They're not allowed to.
They can buy the right from the area of France where it's made to manufacture it in...
They're not allowed to call it champagne.
They are.
They're not.
I've seen it on a label in America, champagne from California. If you're telling me it doesn't exist,
it doesn't.
You're a mug.
All right, well, you show
because
it to
David
me.
out there can find a picture of everything in the world. Will find us a bottle.
Mum's
will
champagne.
find us a bottle of Californian champagne.
Mum's champagne, which is manufactured in Reims, funnily enough.
It's not very famous,
That's
Mum's.
the carve that
Not
I was
very
at.
famous.
Mum's actually make a Californian version of it. That's true.
Well, there you go.
But it's not
there
called,
you go.
But
You
it's
see
not
what
called.
minute you're saying
no, but it's
no,
not
it's
called
impossible.
champagne. No, but it's not called champagne.
What's it called then?
It's called sparkling wine or something. And they're not allowed to call it champagne.
No, it is called champagne.
It's like
Believe me.
It's not.
I know these things. It's so good you're going on. I know these things. I know that, it's night because it's dark outside these studios. I know these things. It's no good trying to argue your way out of it.
It's like Melton Mowbray. You're not allowed to call something Melton Mowbray pie unless it's from Melton Mowbray.
But why would you want to call it a Melton Mowbray pie if it was made in Doncaster?
Well, that's the point. These things are protected. Like various different kinds of cheese are protected. Like in the same way that
I know all this.
You can't make cognac outside of the cognac region either.
Have you had a Pontefract cake lately?
I haven't actually. No.
Do you know what a Pontefract cake is?
It's a biscuit, isn't it?
No, a Pontefract cake.
No, tell me.
It's a piece of licorice.
Is it?
Yeah, you didn't know that, did you?
I think I did know that, but it's
no,
not
you didn't
something
know
I've
that.
retained in my brain.
In this country we got Melton Mowbray pies, which are delicious, by the way. Pontefract cakes. What else have we got? That's regional.
Well, all sorts of cheeses.
Somerset
like
cheese.
Red Leicester.
Somerset brie.
Somerset brie.
Red Leicester.
Yeah, Red Leicester.
Yeah, there's got to be other foods. What is it like? Can you have Yorkshire beef from Yorkshire?
Yeah, but you can get beef anywhere.
Roast beef, isn't it? It's not Yorkshire beef. Welsh lamb. You can only have Welsh lamb from a lamb in Wales, can't you? No, you can. You can.
I mean, you can get lamb from New Zealand.
No, but if you want Welsh lamb, you have Welsh lamb's brilliant because the lambs graze on the slopes of the fields overlooking Snowdonia.
Do they?
In fact, no, overlooking Snowdon.
Right.
No, hang on. No, Lake. I've forgotten the name of the lake now.
Snowdonia. What are we talking about?
No, Snowdonia is the area. Snowdon is the mountain.
Snowdonia
Lake Bala. Lake
Snowdonia
Bala.
is a national
it's
park.
Bala Lake. Bala Lake.
Bala Lake.
Bala Lake.
Yeah.
Bala Lake. It serves Merseyside with water. And it's got the purest water in the country because, of course, Welsh rain's good. It's not polluted by all the sort of filth that Manchester pumps out into the atmosphere, which then comes back down as rain. And the Welsh sheep are the purest in the world, it's said.
It is said.
Yeah.
Marvellous. Well, coming up next, we're going to talk to a telepathy expert. He might be able to help you out with some
Excellent.
of this stuff, and you can figure out exactly what you're trying to say. We are the Two Mics. This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the Two Mics. You'll remember that song, of course, from John Lennon's
absolutely.
Mind Games album.
Yeah.
Rich from Hull says this on the subject of champers. He says, Hi, Mike, is that plum next to you making it up? Champagne at an auction from 200 years ago has bubbles. They didn't have gas then. Please let the small fat ginger one explain. Many thanks, says
Where did
Rich
they get
from
the
Hull.
gas from 200 years ago?
Well,
then?
they didn't have it, because here's the explanation from Matt, who says the bubbles in champagne come from the yeast producing carbon dioxide, which is where the fizz comes from. They don't inject it with gas at all.
Well, I'm saying they do.
Well, you may say that they do,
Are you
but you'll be
telling
completely
me?
wrong.
Well, what's this new?
Where did you get the gas in beer from, then?
It's injected into it.
No, it isn't.
It is.
What? So when you buy real ale and it's got sort of, a vague amount of sort of, gaseous stuff inside it, you think that they've injected it with gas?
Hang on. When you go into
They
a
haven't
pub,
carbonated real ale.
when
Lager, yes.
Weekend sports
when
breakfast.
you what's this? What's that?
They're just trying to interrupt you.
Yeah, when you go into a pub and say, I'll have a pint of London Pride, please.
Yeah.
They pull it from a pump, right? And they suddenly say, oh, the gas has gone. So then some guys to go into the cellar and change the gas canister. Have you never seen that happen?
Yes, that's not
And
real
that's what
ale, though.
happens.
But that's not real ale.
Of course it's real ale. Of course it's real ale.
No, that's the,
it has to have a gas
that's
feed.
the gas that makes
it has to have a gas
that's the
feed.
gas that pumps it up into the pump. It's nothing to do with how they actually make the beer.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Don't be
Rubbish.
ridiculous. All right, now you tell me this then. This sort of champagne substitute, which all these young ladies about town drink, Prosecco. Prosecco.
Yeah.
You think that's made from yeast as well? Of course it's not. They inject gas into it. You fool.
Well, that's why it's not champagne. They don't inject champagne
I didn't
with
say it
gas.
was champagne. It's fizzy wine. So, there might be a bit of yeast in the champagne.
Oh, really?
But they have to put some gas in as well.
Really?
I'm telling you they do.
I don't think so.
I'm telling you they
I
do.
think you've got that completely wrong.
Well, I don't think you know what you're talking about.
I'll take you to a decent champagne bar one of these days.
Why?
And I'll get them
I
to
don't like
explain-
champagne.
I'll
What's
get
the
them
point?
because I'll get them to explain to you how they make it. But anyway, let's move away from that subject
Let's
now,
do that.
because you can't admit when you're wrong. And let's talk to John Spearer instead, who is a telepathy teacher and owner of telepathyacademy.com, because you claim to me that you're working on a telepathy
I am,
experiment,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
we're going to find out from John just how much of this will actually work. John, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. I hope it's a good day over there for you.
Yes, well,
Certainly is, John. Thank you.
I'm hoping that over the course of this conversation, we'll be able to somehow work out if telepathy does work. We'll be able to sort of know these things without perhaps having to speak of them. Tell us about how you got into telepathy and what you know about telepathy, John.
I guess I've been sort of telepathic most of my life, but about 20 years ago, I basically got a little bit more interested in it, and then in 1998, I started doing telepathy with somebody in a person-to-person manner. And since that time, I've been very interested in it. At this time, I do 5 telepathy sessions a week. I currently schedule them with people. We exchange our impressions with emails and things of that nature. So it's not so much mind-to-mind as it is kind of getting in the theme of a pretend conversation and then just seeing what you pick up from it.
Yeah, John, I think it's getting much more serious now. I've been reading some documents from some pages from some university research in America, and the expectation and hope of the future is that telepathy will be developed so well that military commanders on battlefields will be able to think things and transmit that to other commanders in other parts of the battlefield. That's the way it's going.
I'm not so sure about that. It's
What?
more of
So you're not right about that
well,
one.
to be honest, it's not a combative type of thing. It's more a person-to-person conversation kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
And-
But these guys will be able to, to get past battlefield communications involving radios and all that by literally thinking to each other. Thinking.
Yes, well, thinking, and some of what you're talking about sounds like remote viewing, which does in fact involve telepathy. What you try to do is, visualize the situation, communicate, and identify what people are planning.
John, hang on,
excuse
I
me,
seem to know more about this
No,
than
excuse
John.
me. No, you don't know more about it than John.
do.
Don't be so insulting.
Yeah.
John, let me ask you this. When you get people in, I mean, I presume when you're doing these 5 sessions, you have the people in the room with you, or do you have them outside of the room?
Oh, no, these are all distance communication.
Oh, distance, okay.
One person is 10 hours away, another person is like 7 hours
Okay.
away.
And what
I have
kind, and
two
what
peop-
kinds of things are you visualising, and how, try and do it with me. Could you do it with me?
Well, not under these circumstances.
No?
Because, again, we're in a verbal discussion.
Right.
But
also, my colleague here, John, is not the brightest, and I assume that you need highly intelligent people to get involved in these sort of experiments, yeah?
No, I think everybody is capable of doing telepathy. You just have to focus on it.
Well, dumbbells.
Focus on it in a particular way.
So do you need to see the person? Is that what you're saying?
No, you don't. Actually, what you want to do is you don't want to see the person.
Right.
What you want to do is kind of close your eyes.
Okay.
And just visualize, go into like a meditative state.
Okay.
And then visualize having a conversation in your mind with the person.
Right.
And then what you do is try to sense empathically what they are feeling and saying to you. And then after we do this for about 30 minutes, what we do is we exchange emails describing our impressions of the session. That's the format.
And how often do you then find that both of you who have been doing this are thinking about the same thing?
The themes tend to be mostly the same with the people you know the best. And then sometimes I have an off night and I'm just basically out of it, and I have not really tuned them in very effectively. But most of the time that does not happen.
Yeah. John, I mean, as time goes on, we learn more about the human brain, because we only know about the workings of about 5% of the human brain, don't we? So locked inside our brain somewhere is a tremendous communication power unit, the power of thinking, the power of telepathy, the power of transmitting your thought to other people over millions of miles, and we haven't yet uncovered it in the brain, have we?
No. There's very little understanding of the psychic system, actually. And a couple of the people I work with are kind of psychic, and we do this so that we can kind of research it and see if we can figure out how some of these things work, to be honest with you.
What about some of these Indian mystics, John, who seem to, the gurus, who do seem to have cracked it? John Lennon once famously said to the Maharishi Yogi, "You should know why I believe, and if you're so cosmic, you should be able to read my mind." Now, is there any evidence of this?
You can usually sense what a person is involved in their thought process. For instance, married couples are very good at guessing what the other person is going to say before they say it.
But that's familiarity. That's just familiarity. I mean, for instance, my partner and I work in the studio together. Just by looking at him and seeing what's happening in his eyes, I can predict what we've got to say to each other next.
Yeah, and that's kind of like sharing the experience and being able to project his thoughts and feelings, and of course it's the feelings that you're really sensing.
So what am I going to say next then?
What are you going to say next?
Yeah.
You're going to say, right, thanks, John. Thank you very much indeed.
No,
that was great.
That's
yes,
not what I'm
yes,
going to say.
Yes, you are.
Actually, no. John, I wanted to ask you another question, John, which was about whether recurring themes are something that you become familiar with. Like, for example, if you are sort of trying to be telepathic with somebody else, is it easier if you think about does your mind automatically think of a sort of, if you're in a meditative state, does it think of a field, does it think of a flowing river, does it think of a sort of a very tranquil scene, or does it think of something else?
You're thinking of paradise syndrome.
I'm asking John here, I'm not asking you.
Well, I know, you're thinking of paradise syndrome, aren't you, John?
No, what we try to encourage is independent thought. It's kind of like
independent thought. He doesn't think independently.
And basically, I don't try to. I only have one situation where we pick a theme before we start a session. But the other 4 people I work with, what we want to do is we want to just see if we can get a sense for what the other person would like to speak about. And see, we're trying to understand telepathy. We're not trying to prove it. We're trying to experience it.
Because there's no need to prove something that you think already exists, in other words.
Exactly. The proof is how you feel about it. Right. Some days, as I said, some days you do, in fact, tune a person in very effectively, and you are almost reading their mind. But other days it's a case of oh, we have this experience. Oh, yes, they picked up on that experience, but I would explain it differently.
John, what about the genetic connection? Because isn't one of the greatest examples of telepathy a situation where a mother suddenly wakes up in the middle of the night and thinks something dreadful has happened to my child, and finds out a few hours later, you know, their daughter's been, or son's unfortunately been involved in a car crash or something? Is that down to genetics? Is that down to chromosomes?
It is a use of telepathy, but when you say genetics, it's like it's not so much genetics in the sense that there's been a physical genetic connection with the person, and therefore your communication is more effective. There's an emotional bond between two people, and that emotional bond is the wavelength on which the information is exchanged.
Well, that's got to be telepathy. That's got to be telepathy.
John, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, John, thanks. You see, John doesn't know...
I'm just going to say that John was from telepathyacademy.com, if you want to go and find some more information out. He's a telepathy teacher. Well, and basically every question you asked him, which you thought you knew about, he said no to.
No, but he doesn't...
He denied everything you said.
I would say he doesn't know as much about it as I do. I've studied telepathy, and where we're going on telepathy, and he's years behind this guy, right? This guy's years behind, is eventually policemen will be able to look at a crook, right? And literally will be able to read that crook's mind.
Really?
And tell whether he's guilty or not. Yeah, you'll be able to stare at a crook, OK.
Rubbish.
I'm telling you, and and where the battle will be in years to come, Mike, will be whether or not that crook can put, the equivalent of a metal barrier down in front of his mind.
Well, like a visor.
Yeah, that's like a mythical advisor, to stop the cop from reading his mind. The next great battle will be to try and protect your thoughts from being stolen.
Really?
But yeah, I mean, seriously.
Time.
Well, yeah, all right, but what I'm saying is...
all right, look at the time, we've got to do the news.
Yeah, because you're thinking now, I wish Paul could shut up because we've got to go into a break.
That's true.
And I'll tell you what, in years to come, I'll be able to read that. I'll be able to get it out of your mind, and you won't be able to stop me.
Thank you very much indeed. That's enough out of him. Trying to think about what he's going to talk about next. It's about to be absolute and utter cobblers. We are the two mics. The news is next.
That's it.
This is the reason. I'm sorry. This is the reason I was slightly convulsed with laughter there. My apologies during the news.
I told you. See,
we are the two mics. He's Mike Parry. I'm Mike Graham. Tell us about the Champions.
Well, that was called that's a TV series called The Champions, right? And it was a brilliant series, and it was way ahead of its time, probably 30 or 40 years ahead of its time. And what happened was these three agents worked for worldwide, security network, a bit like the Man from U.N.C.L.E., but not the Man from U.N.C.L.E., if you see what I mean. And they're flying back to America from somewhere in the Far East or somewhere, and they crash in the Himalayas, okay?
Yeah.
But they survive, the three of them survive, because they're on a private plane. They're like CIA people or something like that.
You know what the great thing about this show was that it starred Alexandra Bastedo.
One of the most beautiful women who's ever been on telly.
On telly.
So it starred her, she was English, and then an English guy who's a classic English actor, and then an American guy, right? Big, tall American fella.
Yeah.
And the plot was that their plane crashed in a snow blizzard in the Himalayas. They were saved by a bunch of weird-looking guys with white beards, almost like godlike figures, who lived in...
Weird-looking blokes with white beards?
Yes, that's right.
Like you.
No,
We're rescued by a whole tribe of Mike Parrys.
No, these guys were tall and slim. They were like sort of shepherds, but they weren't shepherds, if you know what I mean.
Sherpas, maybe.
Sherpas,
yeah. It was the Himalayas.
But anyway, the point of the story is they rescued them from death. And in rescuing them from death, because they were all mangled and broken bodies, they repaired their mangled and broken bodies, and they got them to a state where they were fully fit again. They went back into life, in England, working for a crime agency. But within their recovery, they'd become completely telepathic.
Yeah.
So the way they fought crime was they could actually speak to each other through their minds when they were chasing villains.
Right.
So, for instance, one would go into the house and would be about to go up the stairs, but the other guy was already up the stairs and being held at gunpoint, so he would say telepathically to Alexandra Bastedo, come up the back stairs and shoot him in the back because he's got his gun and all that kind of stuff. And it was brilliant.
Yeah.
And
but the reason I was convulsed in laughter is because I worked out that this is why you think telepathy exists, because of a TV show that was a fictional TV show that was around in the 60s.
Oh, and I think that actually a crime fighter like Batman could, go around and be immersed in a bath of acid, but survived because that morning he remembered to put on his acid-proof underwear. You think I believe in all that, do you?
I didn't. I'm not. That's we haven't.
Well,
had,
that's what
we
you
haven't
do.
had-
You're being ridiculous.
We haven't had a Batman
Ridiculous.
expert on. We've just had a telepathy expert
Yeah.
on now. I'll tell you now. We could have a
Well,
champagne.
I tell you what. It was
time to
good
have a
of
champagne
It was
expert
good
on
of
now.
John, the telepathy expert, to come on, but unfortunately he wasn't an expert. He didn't know anything. I knew more about telepathy than him. I've read more about it than he has. He just said no to everything.
Well, most people do say no to everything that you come out with. Let's talk to Julian, who's from Welwyn Garden, who says that he was once a champagne buyer for Ocado. Julian, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. I want to put Mike straight, first of all. I'm sure Mike knows how wine's made, which is you get sugar and yeast together on the grape, and you crush it, and you get alcohol and carbon dioxide. So when you're making champagne, they do a first fermentation, and then they add sugar and yeast into the bottle, the champagne bottle, the final one that's made and sold, and they seal it with a crown cap, and therefore the fermentation takes place in the bottle. So the bubbles are created over a period. The minimum aging for champagne is 15 months, and in 15 months you get, at least 15 months, you get all the bubbles in the bottle. And that's the legal way to make champagne. You can inject it, but not in the champagne region. In Stellenbosch, they'll make sparkling wine and they can add carbon dioxide. But in champagne, you have to make it that way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but I've got everything
So pretty
right
much
there.
as I explained it to you. No, you haven't got
I
everything
have
right
got
at all.
everything right. Julian, I said Stellenbosch, I saw them putting the gas in. Correcto, you've said correcto, right?
That can happen.
Yeah, and my partner here, my broadcasting partner, dismissed that as nonsense.
No, I didn't. I said they could do it there, but they don't do it in champagne.
And just hear me out, please.
Said, Mike, they inject it in champagne. They do not do that ever.
I didn't say that, you see. I was talking...
did.
No, I
Yes, you
didn't. No, hang on. I was talking figuratively. When I said they put the gas
Oh, I
in...
see.
They put the gas in the champagne. I was figuratively saying they put the ingredients into the
I
champagne,
see, right.
which aren't in wine, which result in bubbles. That's correct, Julian, isn't it?
That's correct. Of course, as you know, it was perfected by Dom Perignon in the late 17th century. That's the guy who invented champagne.
Okay, who's Bollinger?
Bollinger. Bollinger's a company that started in 1730s by Lily Bollinger, a very famous lady who makes champagne the same way. And it's classic champagne. One of the best.
Fascinating.
One of the best ones. That's the bottle I was drinking, Julian, by the way.
It was, £75 for a bottle of champagne, 6 glasses of fizzy sparkling wine, I think is so really
Well, I think
extravagant.
we owe a debt of thanks to Julian as an expert, proper expert, for ringing up and telling us that.
Yeah.
And only $39.99 in the Ocado, okay?
But you haven't got a table by the Thames where I can sit and smoke, have you?
No, that's right. And do you work in the champagne business, Julian?
Yeah, I'm a buyer for
I just
for
told
Ocado.
you. He's a buyer for Ocado.
Yes, but...
You don't even know what Ocado is,
Of
do
course
you?
I know what Ocado is.
What is it?
Ocado, yeah, if
What
I'm
is it
right
then?
here, Ocado is delivery at home groceries, right? Okay.
That's right.
It has never made a penny profit, but no, seriously, it's going to exchange hands for hundreds of millions of pounds. Is that right, Julian?
What, like Tottenham Hotspur, you mean? Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. The £1 billion company that hasn't made a penny. Yeah, that's a bit like Tottenham Hotspur.
We'll make a profit this year, though, Mike. I promise you.
Well, that's excellent. And Julian, next time you pass in, drop a bottle of the old Bollinger off
I will do that, Mike.
for
It'll be a
old
pleasure.
MG here, and don't forget to leave me off a case of the old Pinot Grigio.
That's an appalling thing.
have a
Julian,
deal.
Julian,
All
thank
right.
you very much indeed.
Thank
That's
you very
a
much indeed.
terrible thing to say at the end there.
What?
Well, it makes you sound like a scrounger.
No, not a
You
scrounger.
sound like a scrounger.
No.
I
hang
don't want
on.
him to drop anything
Hang
off
on.
for us. I'm perfectly
He's just
capable of
been
buying
talking
my own
about his-
champagne, thank you
He's
very
just
much.
been talking about his company
Yeah.
to the benefit of millions of our listeners
Yeah.
understanding who he works for. Don't you think that's worth a bottle of champagne in exchange?
Well, it may well be, but that's not
Probably
something you
against-
should then ask for.
probably
on the
against some,
radio. I think you've probably
broadcasting rule there.
You've probably just broken some rule by asking for some kind of
probably
payment in return.
No, I didn't ask
As
for
usual.
All I said was if one
You
of
asked him for half a case of wine.
well, all I said was, if your Ocado truck is passing, it doesn't make any money anyway, so I might as well drop a few
Yeah.
goods off here.
Well, as he said, it's
Help
going
us
to make money soon.
Excellent, yeah, good.
Excellent.
I'm glad to hear
well, I'm
it.
glad that we've
I
sorted
like
that out.
profitable companies.
I'm glad that we've sorted that out, and I think finally you should admit that you don't know anything about champagne, and the next time we have a conversation about it, not only do you not drink it, but you shouldn't actually be talking about it either. We are the two Mikes. This is Talk Sport.
Say everybody haven't seen my balls, they're big and salty and brown. If you ever need a quick pick me up, just stick my balls in your mouth. Ooh, suck on my chocolate salted balls. Stick 'em in your mouth and suck 'em.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He, of course, is Mike Parry. I've got this very unusual text from Ralph the Bull Terrier in Yorkshire. He says, hi, the two Mikes. Can John do the whistle? He sounds like that old guy out of Family Guy. That's John the telepathy guy, of course. He says, as for telepathy, it's far off, as I'm sure I'd have turrets, i.e., please don't say fruit or shit or Buddha, as we're live on air. I'm not quite sure about what he means by that. I'm sure there's a joke in there somewhere. But, I don't know. But we are going to talk actually about chocolate now because apparently, due to an extensive amount of research done over the course of the last couple of days, it turns out that M&Ms are the most world's most popular sweet.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether you're a fan of M&Ms, but
I am actually.
Have you actually watched the incredible growth of the M&M kind of empire? With now M&M shops everywhere you go.
M&M shops.
Have you not seen the M&M shop?
No, I haven't actually. But you know, years ago, now this gentleman we're talking to, what nationality is he?
Mitch Todd.
Mitch Todd.
I don't know what nationality he is. I'm assuming he's from the United States.
Yes, so am I. Because what I was going to say is,
mate, what nationality he is?
Because years ago in this country we used to have something called treats.
Yes.
And what they were like peanuts covered in chocolate, which was then made hard, sort of baked hard, and
with a candy coating.
Candy coating, and the selling point was they don't melt in your hand, they melt in your mouth.
Yes.
That's what they were said to be. Well, that's exactly the same constituent of what we now know as M&Ms.
Yeah.
But M&Ms haven't always been called M&Ms, have they?
Haven't they? Well, let's find out. Let's talk to Mitch Todd, who's actually a chocolate podcaster. I'm not quite sure what that is really. Perhaps you can tell us. Mitch, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
What is a chocolate podcaster?
Well, what I do, I have a podcast called Chocolate at Midnight. And the way to think of it would be it's like a wine tasting party, only it's for chocolate.
Oh, wow.
Wow, yeah.
Well, Mike Parry's already exhibited his complete and utter ignorance of wine and champagne, so I don't know whether he knows any more about chocolate.
Rubbish, absolute rubbish. Mitch, can I just tell you this? The reason we're speaking to you is that the new Guinness Book of Records is coming out soon, and we understand that M&Ms will be listed as the most popular sweet we call them sweets in this country, you call them candy, in the world, with sales of something like $2 billion a year. I mean, this is a pretty impressive bit of chocolate.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and does that surprise you at all?
No, it's actually, I usually, when I have chocolate, I like really good chocolate, but I will, when I get more of a mainstream chocolate, M&M's is my go-to chocolate.
And what's the secret behind all these M&M shops? Because I was in New York recently, and there's a massive M&M store there where you can go in and buy...
Is that all it sells, M&Ms?
Yeah, it just sells M&M related products.
Right.
Like you can buy M&M bags, you can buy M&M kind of, clothing.
Yeah.
Where did they get the idea for that? And who in their right mind would actually want to buy sort of M&M related stuff? That kind of puzzles me, Mitch.
I would.
Would you?
I would if I could go to a store. You said it's in New York.
It is in New York. I think there's one in London as well now.
Oh, well, that gives me a good reason to visit London, I think.
Well, it does. But, I mean, that's why I'm puzzled as to why people would suddenly branch out of, or if you're in a corporation making this kind of stuff, you would suddenly go, I know, I'm sure people would like to own an M&M shirt, or they would like to own, an M&M watch or something like that. I wonder where they got that idea from.
I don't know. In the States, there are a lot of people who collect things like that. We clutter our homes with items that we like, Star Wars characters or whatever, so that's not surprising to me.
Yeah, okay, let me tell you something here, Mitch. They're called M&Ms because they were invented in 1941, I think it was, by American Forrest Mars, who, of course, founded the Mars Empire, and a guy called R. Bruce Murray. So it's Mars and Murray, so they called them M&Ms. Did you know that?
I did not. I knew about the Mars, not the Murray.
Well, there you are. You go now. Now, if you're an expert in chocolate, what is the quality of the chocolate that surrounds the peanut inside an M&M?
For milk chocolate, I actually think it's pretty good. Like I said, for a mainstream candy, it's my favorite of that kind of chocolate. I don't usually eat the kinds of chocolate that you get at a regular store, but when I do, it's very likely going to be M&M's. Okay,
so you're a bit of a chocolate snob then, for want of another word. What sort of chocolate do you eat? Like Swiss chocolate?
Belgian chocolate?
Belgian chocolate, dark chocolate?
It's been said that Belgian chocolate is the best. I actually prefer German.
German chocolate? Yeah, that's rubbish, German chocolate.
German
I've had
chocolate's
some
very
of that. No, I did the World Cup in Germany in
They do those
2006.
Ritzer
yeah,
bars.
don't like it. Don't like it. No.
What about English?
Have you had their milk chocolate with the cornflakes?
No.
That's actually my favorite. For a milk chocolate bar, it's the Ritter Sport. It's milk chocolate with...
Ritter Sport is quite good, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, in this country, Mitch, we have Cadbury's. And for years and years and years, I mean, for centuries, Cadbury's was the finest chocolate in the world. Then it got taken over by an American company. What was it called, Mike?
Did it?
Yeah, what's it called?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was, big sort of craft food company. And
Probably Kraft.
Kraft Nabisco.
Yeah, something like that. And you changed the recipe of the chocolate, and now we're not so sure it's the best in the world. Now, can you apologise as an American for interfering with that recipe?
If we did, I feel we should apologize.
Because generally, ordinary American chocolate is pretty awful, isn't it?
Yes, I would agree with that. But I will defend M&M's. For ordinary chocolate, it's very good.
Sure. No, I totally agree with that. Do you have a problem, Mitch? And I know it's not you're an expert in chocolate, not teeth, but I know a lot of people who've had teeth problems eating M&M's over the years because they're very crunchy. They can snap your teeth. Also, because of the brittle nature of the shell of an M&M, it lodges in your teeth and gives you dental problems.
It can. I haven't had a problem with it breaking the teeth. Popcorn is more of a problem for me.
Well, popcorn doesn't break your teeth. Popcorn's soft.
Well, it does if you bite the hard bit.
No, it's covered in butter.
Right. The kernels always sneak their way inside.
That can be a problem, I agree.
Well, Mitch, it's a fascinating thing. When you come to Britain, you'll have to come and visit Cadbury's World, because they've now got a sort of theme park dedicated to Cadbury's in Birmingham.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, so you'll have to wander over.
Yeah.
Mitch, thank you very much indeed. Mitch Todd is a chocolate podcaster.
What a great thing to be, chocolate podcaster.
Well, maybe you could find some kind of future sort of sideline of your own that you could do.
Not sure it's in podcasting. I tell you what, I mean, I don't like to cast aspersions on somebody's physical attributes. No, profession-wise, it's great, but I bet he carries a few pounds, old Mitch, because if you're a chocolate podcaster, you're probably stuffing your face full of chocolate all day.
Do you eat a lot of chocolate?
A Mars bar here, pack of M&M's here, bit of Belgian chocolate, German chocolate. I didn't know Germans had chocolate.
Yeah, the Ritzer bars, you can actually buy them here, Ritzer bars. They're quite good, they're quite popular.
Ritzer bars?
Yeah.
I like that Damien stuff I showed you about the other night. That's a
Dime bar, which is originally an American one, but they're normally sold in IKEA, those, as we discovered last week.
You said it was from Scandinavia.
Yeah, that's right. IKEA is from Sweden.
Yeah, but now you said it's American.
Well, originally it was an American bar, but that's their version of it, because they spell it dime as
you
in
asked me a question, what sort of chocolate do I
said,
like?
do you eat a lot of chocolate?
Well, I try not to, because it's not good for the figure, and it's not good for the teeth.
Why do you even bother?
What do you mean?
Well, why do you bother watching your figure? It's not as if your figure is in any way, sylph-like.
Because I've got a very dodgy ticker, Mike. Only works at 1/3 of the
Is chocolate not good for your ticker, then?
No, but it puts weight on, and if you put weight onto a dodgy ticker, the ticker gets dodgier. You see what I mean? And eventually, you get to the point where you're threatening the...
Well, you do a lot of things that I would have thought are not good for your heart.
Efficiency and economy of your heart.
Right. Well, so how much chocolate would you say you eat a day? Because according to this,
I don't eat chocolate daily.
In this country, right, Cadbury's Dairy Milk sales £483.1 million just in the UK alone.
What, on a day?
Not in a day, no, you idiot. Over a year.
Over a year, right.
You can have £483 million a day. That'd be a ridiculous amount of chocolate.
Well, there's 50 million people in this country. It would only be everybody in the country spending on an average, £8 a day on chocolate. I suppose that is a bit much.
That is rather a lot. The UK consumes 605,000 tonnes of chocolate a year.
Oh, yeah. If I have chocolate...
I know you're not listening to that.
No, I
can tell by the way you go, oh, yeah. I don't need telepathy for that.
Let me just...
go, oh, yeah.
Right.
I'm not listening.
Okay. If I had my choice of any chocolate now and you said, let's ask somebody to go out and get us a bar of chocolate, it would be Galaxy. Mm-hmm. I love Galaxy. I think it's creamier than Cadbury's, although I love Cadbury's from, historic reasons when I was a kid and all that kind of stuff.
Isn't it made by Cadbury's?
What?
The Galaxy.
No. It's made by Roundtree, isn't it?
Is it?
Isn't it? I don't know. I also like the Milky Bar Kid stuff.
The Milky Bars.
Yeah, the Milky Bars are on me. What's that? What was the tune for the Milky Bar
I'm
Kid?
not going to tell you.
I am the Milky Bar. The Milky Bars are on me. No, wasn't it? What was it?
The Milky Bar Kid is strong and tough.
Oh, that's right. I love it.
The Milky Bar Kid is strong and tough.
The Milky Bar Kid is strong and tough. The Milky Bar Kid. What was the next one?
Can't get enough or something. Can't remember.
That's right. Milky Bar
All
Kid.
I know is he looks very like Ian McGregor, that guy that ended up being the editor of the Sunday Telegraph.
He did, yeah. And the Milky
In fact, we used to call him the Milky Bar Kid.
That's right, we did, yeah. But the next line's got certainly got the word town in it, hasn't it?
Maybe.
Milky Bar kids just roll into town.
But he used to wear those National Health glasses,
Was it
didn't
Kellogg's Milky Bar? No, what was it? Roundtree's Milky Bar.
No, it wasn't Roundtree's either.
Or whatever company it is.
Nestle, was
Nestle's Milky Bar.
Nestles.
Yeah, Nestle's Milky Bar. There, yeah, and then the Milky Bars are on me.
Yeah, that was a bit at the end.
That's right, because he was supposed to be a cowboy walking into the bar. Oh, yeah, listen.
There's only one thing he carries in case. It's the creamiest milk, the widest bar.
The yummy goodness in Milky Bar.
Milky Bars are on me!
Hey, there you go.
Commercial department's going to love you tonight, aren't
They
they?
are, certainly are, aren't they?
We've got any more free adverts you want to give out to anybody?
Right, yeah. But that's, no, I love all that. It's fantastic. I can't eat dark chocolate. Dark chocolate's too bitter for me. Don't know about you.
My dad used to love dark chocolate. He used to,
Really?
He used to eat Bourneville chocolate, and then
Can't eat
occasionally
it.
for a special treat I'd buy that old Jamaica chocolate which had rum in it.
Yeah.
And that might have started me on the road to rack and ruin as a child.
I bet it did. Sometimes I don't mind, like, at Christmas, I get me mum a box of dark and light or something like that. I don't mind a dark chocolate.
You buy like loads of cans of those big sort of family-sized quality
Of course I
treats
do.
to give
Certainly
away
for
to people.
Christmas, yeah. Certainly
Who
at
would you give
Christmas.
them to?
Well, I take them to all the homes of my family, so that there's always a tin of chocolates like roses or.
Because I remember once I saw you opening your boot of your car, and it
That's
was
right.
full of it looked like you'd stolen a load of tins from the quality treat truck.
Well, I had to throw them away because I'd had them for over a year and forgotten they were there. And what happens
What,
is
in the back of your car?
Yeah, in the back of the car. Yeah. And what happens is, you see, in the summer they heat up and they go all mushy, and then in the winter.
Why did you open your boot for such a long time?
Well, I didn't realise that they degenerated. I thought they
melt.
Well, yeah, but I thought
Also,
they
they get hard. The soft.
I thought they
sensors
lasted
get all
forever, you see.
No, they don't.
No, I thought it lasted forever. So, so anyway, I got round to somebody's house or something. I gave him a tin of these. No, seriously. Gave him a tin of Quality Street, you know.
You broke all their teeth.
No, didn't break all the teeth. So I was sitting there. I said, I'll have a chocolate, open them. And of course, you have to pull the sellotape off around the top where the lid joins the tin.
Yeah.
And they pulled that off and they opened it. And honestly, it was a dreadful, mushy, horrible sort of look to them all. So I said, "Oh no, they're fine, don't worry," and I started trying to eat one. It was dreadful, it was awful. So they had to throw them out. So it wasn't much of a present to go to somebody's house and give them an 18-month-old tin of Quality Street, most of which all the chocolate inside had melted and then reformed again. It wasn't good. It wasn't good.
It wasn't good.
And I had another 2 tins. You're absolutely right. I had Quality Street. What's the other ones they do? Cadbury's Roses.
Yeah.
Roses.
Terry's All Gold.
No, we didn't have all gold. And
Black Magic.
No, another one that was called like Mountains or Little Ones or something. So it was it was a little
Celebrations.
Celebrations. That's the one.
Oh, they like mountains.
A little. Well, you know what I mean. A little Mars bar. A little marathon. What's marathon called now? Snickers. A little Bounty bar. And all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but
listen to this from Russell. Russell has tweeted this at IRMG. Russell says, more ignorance from Porky. Treats did not have that slogan. It was minstrels. Melt in your mouth and not in your hand. I think he's right about that.
No, it wasn't. It was originally Treats.
And
Must
Michael
be made by
says,
the same company.
Peanut M&Ms used to be called Treats when I was at school. And Jacob says this. Can Kreskin Parry use his super soar-away psychic abilities to give me the winners at Lingfield later on?
Oh, no, I wouldn't dabble in that sort of thing. To use telepathy it is telepathy, isn't it? Yeah. To use telepathy for commercial gain and nefarious practices like gambling will have to be banned.
Exactly right. And here's one from Talk Crick who says, Ritter Sport is telepathic chocolate. Also in Vegas at the M&M shop, they sell a pretzel M&M. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'll tell you what, somebody posted this on my Facebook page the other day. Apparently Burger King now, they're selling a black cheeseburger.
What's in it? What's in it? What makes it black?
Well, the roll is black and the cheese is black.
Is that German bread? German bread's black.
No, that's the particular kind of bread, like pumpernickel you're thinking of.
Yeah, well, why would you have black bread in a?
I have no idea. You'd have to ask them.
Well, it's of no interest to me, sorry.
Isn't it?
No, I don't want to eat a quarter pounder with black bread.
Well, that's what you go and order one.
That's what you're telling me it is.
Well, that's what it is. Anyway, never mind that. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to have a quiz for Porky. He claims to be an expert in J.R. Ewing and the show Dallas, of course. And we'll be talking about what's going on the back pages as well. We'll have lots more going on. Keep taking your texts and your tweets. You can find us on social media at The Two Mikes, at Mike Parry 8, and at IROMG. You can text us as well at 81089. Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, and you're listening to the Two Mikes on Extra Time. We're keeping you entertained throughout the night. We are still talking about football, of course, and we will talk about that coming up. We'll look at the back pages coming up in this hour, but a very bizarre hour there where we talked about chocolate, we talked about champagne, and we talked about telepathy as well. Absolutely extraordinary stuff. Coming up in this hour.
We had one great expert, that was the guy on the champagne from Ocado, thank you very much indeed. But the guy with telepathy, I'm sorry, I don't know who books these guests, but I knew more about the subject than he did.
You may well have done. We might talk a bit more about Louis van Gaal as well, and his pronunciation of the youth team.
We need also the juice. The juice education.
I love that, the juice. We need also the juice education. Says the Iron Tulip.
We'll get some more of that coming in. 08717 22 33 You're listening to Extra Time with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. Don't forget you can find us, of course, at the Two Mikes on social media, at Mike Parry 8 and at IROMG. I don't know if you'd like to read any tweets out there, Mike. I've got one here from Michael who says, dark chocolate is good for your heart like red wine. It is full of antioxidants. He says, that's my excuse anyway.
Yeah, I don't like dark chocolate. Too bitter for me. I do like...
Yeah, but it's good for your heart, though.
Yeah, do you know what I love? I love those Ferrero Rochers. I love them. Do you like them?
Well, the ambassadors, they're awful.
I love them. I love them.
It doesn't surprise me that you like those.
And also,
they're kind of typically kind of shallow person's chocolate. That.
No, they're not.
It's so because you probably put them on a little tray, don't you, and make them into that triangle and walk around pretending you're the ambassador, right? Is that what you do?
I sometimes eat them watching television and do feel rather superior.
You get Mrs. Mop to sort of put them on a tray and walk around with them.
The other ones...
You do have excellent taste, Mr. Ambassador.
Yeah, well, I like that advert because I like sophistication. That's, I belong in those sort of political salons that you wouldn't get into even to wipe the floor. The other ones, excuse me, I love are Munchies.
Oh, yeah.
I love Munchies. Don't you?
Are those square chocolate things?
Well, they're not even square. They're sort of like pyramid-type shaped things. But they're lovely. I love them. And the other one I like...
For somebody who says he doesn't eat that much chocolate, you seem to know an awful lot about it. It's like you're expert on it. Maybe we'll have to give you a quiz on chocolate.
Maybe, but I've been eating chocolate a long time. The other one that I really love, but it's so difficult to eat, and you always get your fingers messy trying to break it up to eat it, is Toblerone. Do you like Toblerone?
I do like Toblerone.
I love Toblerone.
Have you tried the white Toblerone?
I've tried white Toblerone. I love it. And do you know what? I sometimes go abroad and I buy Toblerones the size of house bricks. Massive things. Absolutely massive. And so big that when I get back, I get out my meat cleaver and I, I do, honestly, Mike.
I now have this image of you in your little kitchen.
It's true.
With a meat cleaver chopping up a Toblerone.
It's true. The Toblerone's the size of a loaf of bread. They're that big.
Yeah.
And I take this, you have to take the silver paper off because you get silver paper on your fillings.
Yeah.
You know about it, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
And it's very, very delicate silver paper on Toblerone. And I unwrap it all, put it in, and then I get my meat cleaver on the side, bang, 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 and chop it up into bits.
Does that not create lots of little chocolate crumbs, though, for your carpet?
Well, the housekeeper looks after all that for me. That's not a problem. You don't have a carpet in the kitchen. You only have... I have...
linoleum.
Acrylic floor.
Linoleum.
Acrylic floor.
Oh, right.
The acrylic floor.
Fake planks.
No. It's acrylic floor.
I see.
Acrylic flooring. And then, because they're so big, I turn them on the side and bang, 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 I chop them in half again. And that's the only way you can eat them.
Absolutely.
Because they're so... do you know the other thing I love doing? I love putting chocolate in the freezer and then eating it when I take it out. Except if you leave it too long, you break your teeth on. You try eating a Snickers bar.
You really are an expert on chocolate.
No.
Next week's definitely a chocolate quiz.
You try eating a Snickers bar when you've had it in the freezer overnight, and it can
You can buy ice cream now. You can buy Snickers ice cream.
Yeah, you can buy all sorts of ice cream, bouncy ice cream, all that kind of stuff. Of course you can, but, it's the chocolate bars which are the thrill, aren't they? I used to eat Topics when I was a kid. I used to love a Topic. But the Topic recipe has changed. It's not like it used to be.
I went off topic when there was a story about somebody biting into one and they found a mouse's head in it.
Oh, don't tell me things like that.
They did. I've never been able to eat one since.
Oh, don't tell me. Don't tell me things like that.
Here's a text from Chris, who's texted into 1889. Whilst at school, he says, many years ago, we had to guess the number of M&Ms in a huge jar. I won, but unfortunately some kid got equally close. We had the choice to split or flip for it. I lost and cried. So to this day, when I see a packet, a lump still appears in my throat.
I don't blame you. That's a very
People
dramatic
have got
story.
some very kind of interesting relationships with chocolate.
Of course
Women,
they
of course, eat chocolate whenever they're feeling emotionally kind of at a bit of a sort of...
I think that's a terribly generalised generalised comment.
Women eat chocolate as a substitute for sex, apart from anything else.
Nah, that's rubbish.
They do.
Utter nonsense. Honest to God. You always have to turn it to the physicality of things.
To do with that. But
What
it's
utter
like an emotional
gibberish.
crutch for women, chocolate is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, and wine? Is that an emotional crutch for you?
Because the reason why they do it
Champagne,
is because...
£75 a bottle?
Well, I don't know why you keep going on about that. The point about chocolate is that it sends the same messages to your brain as sex does. It sets off the same endorphins. It's the same pleasurable feeling. It is.
What?
Scientifically proven.
Well, utter nonsense. So you're feeling a bit sort of erotic. You're watching a bit of telly at home, Coronation Street. You see Deirdre
You find
Barlow.
Coronation Street erotic?
You see Deirdre Barlow. You think, could get worked up about that. And then you head for the fridge, do you, and get a bar of chocolate out.
Some people do.
You're mad.
I don't watch Coronation Street, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, let me read some messages
Go
here.
on.
Right, here we go. Paul says, old MG, forget Mike Parry's heart. How much stress is his brain under from the gibberish he spouts on your show? Another one here. The two Mikes. Absolutely brilliant show, fellas. Love listening to you all the way from New York.
There you go.
That's what we like to hear. Thank you very much indeed, and welcome. And hello to all our friends in New York City, Manhattan. I've got another one here.
New York City, Manhattan.
New York City, Manhattan, same place, obviously. Right, it says dark chocolate is good for your heart, Mike. It's like red wine. It's full of antioxidants. That's my excuse anyway. That's from Michael Devereux, OK? And you've just read that one out.
Yeah,
But
I have.
I mean, I thought it was nice to let the audience know that Michael, sends messages to me as well as to you.
Yeah, well,
okay?
let me read some a bit more competently, because these are coming in on the text.
Right.
Stuart is giving you the entire words for the Milky Bar Kid. The Milky Bar Kid is strong and tough, and only the best is good enough. The creamiest milk, the whitest bar, that's the great tasting Milky Bar.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
The Milky Bars
All right,
are on
doesn't
me.
mean- yeah, the Milky Bars are on you.
No, that's not. He doesn't sing that, does he? He just stands up there with his cowboy hat on and his National Health Service spectacles, and the Milky Bars are on me.
Ricky from Watford says Godiva chocolate is the best. And then how about this one from someone who doesn't give a name? I love to chew chocolate-coated wasabi peas washed down with a nice German brew. Have you ever had wasabi peas?
What are they?
They're sort of, I would say, I suppose, a Southeast Asian kind of, or a Japanese a kind of version of a kind of a hard pea, but it's very.
No, I wouldn't eat it. I wouldn't
they're
eat
quite
it.
spicy and quite bitter.
Wouldn't eat
I don't
it.
think you'd like them.
I have a political protest about Japanese food. I don't eat it because it's uncooked stuff, isn't it?
No, it's not.
It is.
Well, not all of it is.
What's all that stuff called that you buy?
Sushi.
Sushi, that's all uncooked. But also, the Japanese go around shooting whales. I don't like that.
Oh, really?
I want to save the whale, seriously.
Do you?
And I don't think you say you shouldn't honestly patronise Japanese cuisine because they are very cruel to whales.
Really?
And it's all right.
Have you ever been to an abattoir?
No, I've never been to an abattoir.
Well, but people are pretty cruel to animals here that you eat as well.
Look, there has to be a food chain. There's no doubt about that, right? And we dispense of animals as humanely as we possibly can. To shoot, to stun an animal.
Well, hitting them on the head with a hammer is not very humane.
Well, it's not. You don't normally hit them on the head with a hammer. You give them a
It's
stun
an electronic
gun.
hammer.
You give them a stun
Well,
gun.
same idea.
Bang into the brain, and then they
That's
have
not
to
very
go.
humane either.
Well, it's got to be done. But what I'm saying is,
So what's the difference?
we don't need to eat whales. So why do people go around hunting whales? Whales are the most beautiful creatures. Have you ever seen a whale breach in the water and come out?
No,
Neither
not in
have I.
person.
But no. But what are you laughing at?
Because I knew you were going to say yeah.
No. But what I'm saying is, I've seen plenty of pictures of and one of these days I'm going to get. Look, I'm only being honest. I'm only being honest.
No, I know.
Well, one of these days I'm going to get on one of those boats,
A whaling boat. Why don't you
No,
join Greenpeace?
not a whaling boat. Not a whaling boat. A tourist boat in somewhere like Alaska or somewhere like that.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden, you'll feel the boat rock from side to side and a whale comes shooting out the water.
My daughter actually was in Iceland recently. She
Is that
saw,
right?
she saw them.
Is
yeah.
that right?
You go
Yeah.
out and watch them
Yeah.
there. But I tell you what, I was on a
Is this the
whaling
daughter
ship.
you were sharing the
I've only got
£100
one
bottle
daughter.
of champagne
Yeah.
with? Yeah.
75 quid.
What a way to bring a child
I
up.
only saw one. What I was going to say was, when I was in Connecticut last summer, or last Easter, I should say, I went and saw an old-fashioned whaling ship from like the 19th century.
Where was this?
Incredible. Just in a place called Mystic.
Where's that?
It's in. It's on the coast of Connecticut. in
Oh,
America.
okay, I know all that. Yeah,
Mystic.
I know
Do you remember
that,
the movie Mystic Pizza?
No, I remember. I remember Play Misty for Me.
No, this is Mystic with a C.
Mystic, okay.
And it was an old
Yeah.
whaling town. And I mean, some of the conditions on those boats were incredible. And they used to just, bring the whale on board and just chop it up literally inside the boat. It's incredible to see.
Terrible though, but a terrible, terrible waste of one of the planet's most beautiful creatures. I'd ban it. I'd ban it altogether. We just don't need to harvest whales. We don't need to fish whales, right? And these Japanese whale factory boats, they go out there and they drag these poor whales on board. It is so disgusting, so disgraceful. I mean, look, I'm not politically in tune with Greenpeace, but I definitely agree with saving the whale. Got to save the whale, seriously.
Maybe we
because
should start a campaign.
I mean,
all right, let's just calm down. We'll get more into it in a minute.
All I was going to say was, all these people are trying to save things all the time. I can't see how the world would change if we suddenly lost the hippopotamus. No, not the hippopotamus, the other one, the rhino. If we lost the white rhino, I don't think it'd make a difference to the world
also
at all.
hunted by poachers.
Yeah, well, I don't care. If the white rhino goes, that's hard luck. But
have you ever seen a white rhino?
Yes, I have.
Ah.
Yes, in the Kruger National Park.
We've got to go.
But we've got to
Look
save
into
the whale.
light. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Coming up next, we're going to talk about some more scientific reports, and we're going to have a look at the back pages coming up in a little while as well. This is Talk Sport. Talk Sport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is Mike Parry, of course, and we are joined by the one and only Fletch.
Morning,
do you know
boys.
what the connection is between Fletch and that piece of music?
Now, Fletch was Slade Prison, Ronnie Barker.
Yeah, no, that's the wrong Fletch. It's a good guess, but it's not dissimilar, but there was another character called Fletch.
So you're trying to link Ben here with Fletch?
With Fletch, yes.
Fletch.
It was an American movie.
Ben Fletcher.
It is, yeah.
Ben Fletcher, see? There you go.
His name's Ben Fletcher, yeah, but do you know who Fletch was, though?
I've just told you Fletch was.
Yeah, but
the most famous Fletch was Ronnie Barker, Slade Prison, most famous prisoner, in one of the most popular TV series ever, written by Ian LaFrey and the other guy who wrote The Likely Lads, okay?
Ian LaFrene, actually.
Ian LaFrene and who was the other fella?
Can't remember.
But anyway, I've told you everything you need to know about Fletch.
It was a movie with Chevy Chase in it called Fletch, where he played this kind of bungling police officer who was always in undercover disguises. It was very funny.
Yeah, 1985.
Was it 85? Yeah.
I'm sure it was very funny. I'm sorry, whoosh went over my head like that, and I was living in America at the time as well. So it must have been particularly dreadful.
By the time the movies opened, you were all with blooded, I should imagine.
Great theme, by the way.
It was a great theme.
Yeah. Loads of great movie themes in the 80s. If you know where.
Well, last night we were talking about movies from the 90s because
Flashdance.
Nostalgia.
What a flash dance!
What a feeling!
Ooh, what a feeling! That's the one.
Yeah,
that's the one.
Should we move on to the back pages?
And of course, the best one ever, Top Gun.
You think so?
Yeah.
This favourite film, that.
Day after day. Oh no, that was.
That takes my breath away. Do you think?
Yeah, that's right. That was Flashdance.
One of my favourites is probably Escape from New York.
Escape from New York
theme. That was
Snake
a real
Plissken.
dark. Yeah, Snake Plissken.
Yeah.
And Donald Pleasance.
That's right. He plays the president.
In the pod. Plane crashed in New York, which had been turned into a penal colony. That's all Manhattan was. And then the one-eyed man had to go in and get him back. Is that right?
Snake Plissken, yeah.
That's absolutely right.
Snake Plissken.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. There you go. See,
Right.
Great
I know
film.
all the plots to all the films.
You do, as you proved in the live show the other day.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what's on the back pages, Mr. Fletcher.
Well, back page of the Sun, we're well shot of him, and this is Louis van Gaal, and he's blasted
terrible
Danny
thing to
Welbeck,
say.
and I always feel uncomfortable when I see managers say this sort of thing, because you just know now that when Arsenal next face Manchester United, he's going to be bang up for that, and he'll probably get a hat-trick, because he's got a point to prove, he's scorned. And was he that bad? I mean, he's
I don't think he
scored
was.
for England twice midweek or on Monday night, and
that's quite an achievement. That.
Yeah, well, given the current climate, for England to score 2 goals and win a game is fantastic stuff. But I think that's really, really harsh of Louis van Gaal. And
what's that on the back of the Sun?
Back of the Sun, LVG blast for Danny, and I see no reason why he can't be a success at Arsenal.
Well, now of course
and
he's
for England.
concentrating on the youth team, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or is he Jewish?
Are we?
The juice. Got to develop the juice.
The juice.
We're all in agreement, are we, that United aren't going to
juice.
finish? The juice. Not going to finish in the top 4 this season.
Oh, I don't think so.
Well, yeah, but that,
I can't see it.
Well, that gives him a problem, doesn't it? Because you're going to tell us about another headline, aren't you, from yesterday, in which he was told you've got to get into the top 3.
I can't see it. I can't see how they're going to do it. Who are they going to replace? I mean, you think that Liverpool. Okay, yes, they're without Luis Suarez, but they're going to get stronger. Surely they've got Balotelli. They've had not too bad a start. It's going to be a Chelsea City 1-2, and Arsenal will win the 4th place cup as they have done every year for the last what feels like 16, 17 years. It must be now.
Will.
So what are United going to do? They're spending all this money, and by hook or by crook, they have to finish inside the top 4. Otherwise, they risk doing a Liverpool back in the late 80s, early 90s, and disappearing off the football map. But I just can't see how they're going to do it. And back page of the Mirror, another player. This is time it's Tom Cleverley, driven out by United hate mob, and he says he was basically driven out by fans who were giving him stick. His own fans. He was a target, he says, for the Boo Boys. Now I know he divides opinion, Tom Cleverley, but I've never known anybody really that actually says they hate him, and I can't imagine he's the sort of player that would actually be booed. I know that under the David Moyes era there was a lot of unpopularity and. A lot of players did get a lot of stick from the fans, but hate mob, really? Tom Cleverley, are we having that?
Well, there were a lot of people. There was a guy that launched a petition, wasn't there, to prevent him from playing for England, which I suppose if you're a relatively young, impressionable, sports star, must be a little bit hurtful.
That's not hate, though, is it?
No.
I mean,
well, I think there is. I think there's a lot more out there than people realise. And I mean, as much as many of us get, sort of abused on Twitter, and after a while, you just kind of put up with it. I mean, I'm sure if you're, we're kind of older and longer in the tooth than some of these guys.
It does happen at football.
I think
clubs.
they get affected by it.
For some unknown reason, a particular part of the terraces, as they were, as we still call them, can suddenly just pick on a player for one tiny little thing, like, missing an open goal or being perceived to have a, laid-back attitude, like, what's his name, who went from Spurs to Manchester United,
Berbatov.
Berbatov and all that kind of stuff. And, for instance, our very own Alan Brazil, for some unknown reason, fell out with the Manchester United fans. He doesn't know why, whether or not it's because he went to... When he left Ipswich, apparently, both United and Spurs were bidding for him. So he went to Spurs first, and then it didn't work out at Spurs. So Ron Atkinson then said, I'm glad about that, because I always wanted you at Manchester United. So when the United fans read this, they suddenly took against Al. And no matter what he did, he'd go away and score 2 goals and all that. They took against him, and fans can do that. If it's just a your face doesn't fit type scenario. But it's odd for that to happen to a local boy, isn't it?
Exactly, very, very strange. And he's going to Aston Villa, a side who aren't without their own problems. And I think, they're going to be very, very near the relegation trap all this season. So is he going to, are the Villa fans going to take to him? Are they going to take to the new kid on the block from Man United if he doesn't put in a shift or two over the course of the season?
Yeah, well, I mean, who knows? But, I mean, again, somebody else with a reason to prove himself whenever they play Manchester United.
Well, absolutely. And I just think, to come out and certainly with Danny Welbeck, to come out and say you're not good enough, we're well shot of him, which is as I've said already, the headline on the back of the Sun. That's his team talk. There's an old saying, isn't there, when managers write off the opposition, you say that's their team talk done. And I think for Cleverley and for Welbeck, they've now got inspiration to play well against United, and certainly with Aston Villa, the way things are going, you can actually see Villa getting a win or doing something, and Tom Cleverley being the star of the show in that game.
You never know. Louis van Gaal has also been talking up Mr. Falcao, hasn't he? Saying that in training yesterday it was great. He got one chance and he scored it. I mean, he's talking about on the training pitch. I mean, what difference does that make to anybody?
I know, exactly. And this is a massive, not every signing's a gamble, but a lot of eggs have been put in this particular basket. And if Falcao doesn't, if he's not an instant hit, which is on the back page of the Mail, lethal Falcao, an instant hit. You're right, it's a goal in training. What does that prove? It's like, I don't know what's more ridiculous, that, or had it been a goal in a pre-season friendly or an international friendly. But, lots been invested in this, and...
Just talking about that, just slightly getting back to the Welbeck situation for a minute. I mean, it's fair to say that Welbeck, when he's playing for England, is playing for a team less competent than what a Manchester United team should be.
Yeah.
So, for instance, when David Beckham went to play for England at the height of the Manchester United glory years, 1999, when he left and went to England, he was going to a poorer team than the one he was playing for at Old Trafford. On that basis, you could accept LVG. But on the basis that he's got a team which is utterly creaking and falling apart at the seams until he puts the repair work in, he's a foolish man to say that.
It's not really... I mean, I think it's wrong to say it's falling apart, it seems, now that they've bought all these players, though. Now they've bought Di Maria and Falcao.
Well, I think it is falling apart at the seams, and all these new players are, in fact, the repair kit that he's got to apply to it. Got to look at it like that, Mike. Got to look at it as an entity.
Yes, as an entity, it has been creaking, but I think presumably when you see Manchester United turning out against QPR at the weekend,
£200 million worth of footballers.
That's why, I mean, some Man United fans will really be giving me grief saying, you're an idiot, why did they need a big win? I think they need a big win to show that they actually are back. If they win like 1-0, that's not going to be very encouraging, is it?
If United don't smash their way through QPR by 3-4 goals, and then I'm going to be a little bit worried about them, because you're right, this is a fixture that's come along. QPR, again, a side that are going to be... There was a story that QPR, because of there's an ongoing situation with fines that they may owe the Football League, the Championship. If they were to be relegated, there could be a state of affairs where they're not allowed back in to the Championship, so it could effectively be a double relegation. That happened to Boston United a few years back.
It could be all the way down to the conference, couldn't it? That was the story this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the QPR...
Yeah, but if they get relegated, they don't pay the fine.
They don't pay the fine, 40 million
quid. It would be the whole Football League, wouldn't it?
The Football League would throw them out.
As a Woking fan, I'd love QPR to bring all their faithful to Kingfield. I think that'd be a great away day and great for us. But QPR, you wouldn't 3-4 years ago under Fergie, that would be a 5 or 6-0 win for United. But now you think actually it could be a draw, potentially, or maybe even worse.
Sure. And the rest of the papers?
Rodgers rages at England. Brendan Rodgers is unhappy about Daniel Sturridge's treatment. He, of course, is injured and could be out for 6 games, as much as 3 weeks.
And where did the Daily Mail get that story from?
He was on TalkSport earlier on, wasn't he?
Absolutely.
It was one of our stories, of course. He was Brendan Rodgers on the breakfast show yesterday morning, and telling us that he's very, very unhappy with the state of affairs. But I don't really understand this either, because had it been Luis Suarez, and Suarez was injured while on Uruguay duty, would he have had a go at the Uruguayan FA? There does seem to be a real bias towards...
But I'm telling you, Ben, one of these days... I mean, by the way, I think it's in the book that we've just heard being floated on TalkSport, Rio Ferdinand's book. I think Rio admits quite openly that Sir Alex Ferguson pulled players from international squads on a number of occasions when he felt ready to do so. So it's already happening. But the situation that terrifies me as a football fan is, just imagine if Gareth Bale had been injured on that pitch in Andorra the other night. And it wasn't even a football pitch.
3G, yeah.
What is 3G? What is 3G?
It's like fake grass, basically.
That's what I'm saying. It's some sort of made-up composite surface on which the world's most expensive player was made to play. And the deal was, with Chris Coleman, get him off as soon as you secured the game. So obviously they thought they'd be 3-0 up at half-time against Andorra, but he had to play the full game.
Not one of them.
I mean, how many managers are going to risk that sort of thing in the future when your player's worth 100 million quid?
And with the greatest respect, it's Wales. You know, it's not the Welsh FA. How much clout do you think they've got with the Real Madrid hierarchy? You know, with
they might not have so much when it comes to the next game, that's for sure. But Ben, thank you very much indeed. That was a look at the back pages.
Thanks for bringing a bit of
papers.
sanity to the show.
Yeah, I'd hardly get a word in edgewise there, but thank you very much indeed. Much more coming from the two mics next on TalkSport.
All the ladies in the crowd dancing. Patagonia.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, and that, of course, is Patagonia.
Patagonia.
You know about
Listen,
Patagonia,
just
don't you?
before we talk about Patagonia, I can tell you about Patagonia.
Can you?
There are a few experts in this country know as much about Patagonia as I do.
Really?
Just before we do, look, I've got to include Ben here while he's in the studio.
Right.
This is from it's from Marcus, and he says, "Hi guys." Loving the show and all that, but tell that Ben Fletcher he's got it wrong. He said Welbeck was Hull level 3 weeks ago, and now he's talking absolute balderdash. What do you got to say to that, Ben?
Well, he's just scored twice for England in a game they had to win. He's done it at international level. A manager who doesn't like spending money has spent money on him, and he's playing in a really, really attacking team.
But did you say he was only good for Hull 3 weeks ago?
Did I say that? I may well have insinuated that under Manchester United's system
That's a bit of an obfuscation.
Yeah.
Why are you
May well
picking
have
on, why are you
insinuated.
picking on Ben anyway?
Because I'm referring to the tweets, because I like to involve the listeners.
I don't
the
remember
listeners
saying
the
that.
most important part of this show.
I don't remember saying he was only good enough for Hull, but you know,
Well, perhaps you'd
things change very quickly in football.
Perhaps you'd like to address Marcus and put him straight and just say you rate him, yeah?
I rate him.
There you go. Thank you very much indeed. Now, a couple of other
I've no
tweets
idea
in.
why you'd have to do that. Well, now I'll read you some more. Here's one from Craig in Bidale, who says, "Can I just say Mr. Parrott is my hero. More intellectual men should be on the radio and will be top of my list to share a pint with."
That's very kind of
you're
you.
An intellectual, he must be in trouble.
That's very kind of you. Lovely one here, which I'm reading out because I do like to emphasise the spread and the reach we have on this show. Mark says, "Rarely agree with Porky, if not at all. Nevertheless, love your show, fellas, and I'm listening from North Hollywood, LA, every evening."
Very nice too. You've been to North Hollywood.
What's the rather tacky area? Is it West Hollywood?
Well, West Hollywood's kind of, West Hollywood's quite trendy now, though.
Oh, is it? Well, it was a bit tacky last time I was there. I stayed in the Holiday Inn there, actually.
Oh, did you?
You don't get many Holiday Inns in Hollywood.
The Mondrian is in West Hollywood, which is where I used to stay sometimes. Well, the Bellage, which are two very... I once went for breakfast in the Bellage Hotel. I was chasing George Michael around.
Right.
He was staying in the same hotel. That was why I checked in there.
Right.
The room I had was bigger than my apartment in New York.
Was it?
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Should have stayed
I
there.
went for breakfast one morning. Danny DeVito came in and had breakfast sitting next to me.
Really? Yeah.
So it was a pretty cool place.
How tall is Danny DeVito?
He's about the same height as you.
Yeah, ha, 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 ha.
No, he's
very
small.
funny.
No, he is very small.
No, he's about 4'11", isn't he?
Yeah, he's about
Something
about
like
5 foot.
You know,
But a very funny guy, though.
You know, we used to have the security guard downstairs, Alec.
Al, yeah.
Yeah, we used to call him Danny DeVito.
Did you?
Danny DeVito. Well, he was tiny. He was a midget. He was a butterball, round
He was a
guy
lovely guy, though.
With ball. Well, he could hardly speak, to be honest.
No,
but I mean, he's a very, very nice man.
I don't know why you suddenly turning picking on people.
No, very nice man.
This time of the
he was a
morning.
very nice chap, and the reason he hardly spoke is he was a man of action rather than words. That's what I meant. That's what I
He
meant.
used to eat a vast amount of food while he was here as well. Whenever I came in, he was always, eating a roast.
Whenever I came,
about 3 roast dinners a night.
He was watching back episodes of EastEnders all the time on the security cameras.
Yeah.
Just one more here.
Go on.
From Michael. The Two Mikes is Radio Gold Dust. Best thing on TalkSport, fellas. Well done. You're both genii. So I like that.
Well, do you have to read out all the ones that are just praising you?
Well, you know, I like.
This one from Ginger.
Appreciation makes you feel warm and
well, it does to
inside you.
Well, you can just read it to yourself. Ginger Christian Laguna says, Mike Graham is right. Chocolate suppresses a woman's sex drive. There you go. So there's your
suppresses?
Yeah. Yeah, substitute.
Chocolate.
It's a sex substitute.
Oh, substitute, right. Anyway, we're talking Patagonia, aren't we?
Because Gareth
Let's get on
Bale,
with it,
as you were saying, I mean, one of the things about that game with the 3G pitch was that, I mean, I've played on 3G pitches before. Well, I suppose it's not that usual for
I haven't played on 3G. I didn't even know what the 3G pitch was. I thought they must have been playing on a pitch made up of telephones.
Yeah. Well, it's new. It's a reasonable assumption to make. But when you saw the ball hitting the ground and all this kind of stuff coming out,
that's right,
which you thought would be dust or something
right.
like that, it's actually these little particles of black rubber.
Well, have you ever seen
because the pitch is kind of knitted together effectively.
Have you ever been to Lingfield and seen horses run on the all-weather pitch?
Yes.
Absolutely amazing. Have you ever looked at the all-weather
Not
surface?
closely, no.
Do you know what it's made up of?
No.
It's made up of, like cabling, wire, and all that kind of stuff. All that is ground down when it's ripped out of buildings. You know what I mean?
So that's the rubber base of it.
Exactly. It's all recycled.
Yeah.
It's all ground down, and it's put down, and they mix it with a bit of sand and all that kind of stuff. And,
so when the horses run on it, it kind of jumps up like dust.
Yeah, a bit like that. Yeah,
right.
but not dust particles. I mean, you're talking about
quite big lumpy bits.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, that's what was happening at the Andorra game the other day.
That's
and
right.
Every time there was a tackle, or every time there was a ball, bouncing quite high, this stuff was coming out. And
shouldn't have been allowed, you know.
To Dave, the producer, because I've never seen that happen. But he was saying when you play on these pitches, you get in the shower and your hair is just full of all these, bits of rubber and stuff.
Terrible.
It's just horrendous.
Shocking.
But you do wonder if in Patagonia, where there's a massive Welsh community, the only other part of the world where they actually speak Welsh, where they're all cheering and watching Gareth Bale, their new hero.
Yeah, that's true. Now, Patagonia, really interesting place, right? It spreads from Chile into Argentina.
Yeah.
Argentina.
Well, it's sort of owned by both, isn't it?
It is, you're absolutely right. But I was in Chile, right, and I went into this bar in Chile, in a remote place. I was travelling through Chile, and I heard people speaking Spanish with a Welsh accent.
Really?
Couldn't believe it. And so, obviously...
So do they actually speak Welsh as well, or is it just Spanish with a Welsh accent?
About to tell you.
Okay.
So, I immediately seized the opportunity, coming from Chester on the border with North Wales, threw a couple of words of Welsh in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cymru and all that kind of stuff,
Which
you know
word?
what I mean? Cymru.
Cymru, you mean?
Yeah.
Do you mean Cymru?
Wales.
Well,
I made it
Cymru.
clear. Cymru.
No, it's not Cymru.
Well, it
it's
depends
Cymru.
which part of Wales you come
No,
from.
it's not. It
But
doesn't
anyway,
depend on that.
it's irrelevant.
I've worked in Wales, I told you that.
The point is they recognised immediately a fellow countryman, so to speak, although I'm not Welsh. Mr. Brazil me in Welsh, I'm not English. And then a few more words like, Bon Ayan and all that kind of stuff, you know, welcome.
Bon Ayan?
Yeah, that's right.
Sure, that's right.
Yeah, it's like that, yeah. But it depends on which accent.
Do you know what the word for the police is?
It's Kaidu.
No, it's Headloo.
Well, Headloo are the coppers,
Yeah.
Kaidu are the detectives.
Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I've got the sense that you're talking absolute
No, I'm
nonsense
not.
now.
No, I'm not. No. And anyway, what I found out was that 150 years ago, the Welsh brought their mining skills to Chile because they discovered like coal mines in Chile. But on the boat that took them over, the first boat took them over, they also took a few herds of sheep, Welsh sheep, because we were talking about Welsh lamb earlier, right?
Right.
From that, they created a great sheep industry as well as mining. The mining's now run out in Chile, so they're mostly sheep hill farmers, right? Amazing culture they've got. They go into the houses, all sorts of artefacts from Wales and all that kind of stuff, Amazing, absolutely amazing.
Well, it says, from what I understand it here, from the Welsh people who first arrived in Patagonia in 1865 went there because they worried that their culture was being kind of subsumed by the English in Wales, and they wanted to go somewhere far enough away. So
maybe that was their excuse. I don't know. Nobody's.
I know it doesn't say anything about mining.
Yeah, it was all about mining, and nobody's subsuming the Welsh culture. The Welsh culture's more alive today than ever. They've got their own parliament, for goodness sake. They can waste taxpayers' money on anything they want. Not that I'm having to go at the Welsh, obviously. But there's a few politicians there who are as hopeless as politicians in other parts of the British Isles. Now, what I was going to say was, Chile is a fascinating country. I traversed the Atacama Desert.
Yes, we've spoken about that before. That's where they've got these weird kind of cave paintings.
Fourth biggest desert in the world. You see lots of.
But this is where they've got the cave paintings of what you think are possibly alien landings.
Absolutely, it's where.
Did you take any pictures?
No.
Why not?
I don't have a camera, I suppose.
Why
is
didn't
the
you
answer.
take a camera when you were in a place like Chile? You take a camera, don't you?
Well, it was in a dark cave, so I'm not sure it would have made anyway. But the point of the story is...
What is the point
what
of
I'm
the
trying to
story?
tell you is, what I'm trying to tell you is that that cave that you're talking about is where scientists believe aliens arrived.
That's what I just said.
Is that what you said? Yeah.
You don't listen to a word I say, do you?
No. Aliens
Just
arrived.
not listening to me.
And
How can you sit here for 5 hours and not actually listen
hang
to
on,
anything
and
I
the
say?
local people drew pictures of the aliens. I mean, there's pictures of
just
them on
said
the
that.
walls with bubbles over their heads
Yeah.
to signify space helmets. You see
Yeah.
what I mean? And that was done 200 years ago. How about that?
It was more than that, wasn't
No,
it?
it was actually about 2,000 years ago. 2,000 years ago that was done. How about that? So that is quite amazing. The other thing about the Atacama Desert is you go across one bit, which is a sort of salt lake, but it hasn't got much water in it these days.
Yeah.
And all these, not pelicans,
Flamingos?
Flamingos. They're all standing on one leg.
Yeah.
Pink flamingos. The
Yeah.
most beautiful sight I've ever seen in the world. Against a pink sky, pink flamingos standing on one leg on pink sand. How about that?
So how can you see them then?
Well, you know what I'm talking about, shadow and all that kind of stuff. It was beautiful. There are parts of Chile which look like the moon. Went to a place called...
They use it for a lot of movie
They do.
sites, don't they?
Went to a place called San something or other, where there was one hotel in the middle of the desert, like an oasis. It had a huge stock of red wine. Chilean red is fantastic
It is.
wine.
I like Chilean wine.
We spent the whole night dining on great meat, like lamb from the Patagonia. And
They don't eat flamingos then?
No, they don't eat flamingos, no. And drinking red wine, and it was spectacularly good. Good place, Chile, I like it. Long, thin country on the north, south, east, west coast of South America.
Thank you very much. I'm ashamed you don't have any pictures of it, though, because that would be good. And we could have shared them with the audience. But never mind. Mike Porky Parry and more of his travels will come
we were
soon.
talking about that because of Gareth Bale, weren't we?
Yeah, we were, but
Yeah.
we never got to that.
No,
'cause it was all about you.
It's the Gareth Bale
Once
connection.
again, it was all about
Gareth
you.
Bale.
Never mind. Coming up next, Porky's
They
experts...
probably think Gareth Bale's a
Never
hero.
mind.
I bet they've got pictures of Gareth Bale in all those houses now in Patagonia,
sure
the
they
Welsh
have.
community. I bet they have.
Look into the light for a second. We're going to do the quiz coming up next. It's all about Dallas and JR. We are the two Mikes, and of course it's time for the Porky Quiz. And it may be a long time ago, but who could forget that theme tune? It's a song that everybody recognises as the theme tune to Dallas, probably the most successful American TV soap opera
Of all
ever,
time. Of all
probably
time.
around the world as well.
And-
I'm not going to give too much away because it may figure as part of the questioning.
Well, first of all, I'll tell you, I will get a record score in this quiz, okay?
Yeah.
I have always lived my life since the first episode of Dallas by the principles of J.R. Ewing. The man was a winner through and through. The man was determinedly successful, protected his family, looked after his children, had total pride in the family business that his father created, and basically was a ruthless but brilliant and tough person who didn't let anybody beat him. And I have all those qualities in life, but I inherited them all from J.R. Ewing. Now, did you know this, Mike? In the first...
Are you going to let me get any questions?
First couple of episodes of Dallas, J.R. Ewing was a periphery figure. He was just a minor figure, just a brother in the family. And then suddenly he delivered a few lines with a bit of menace in them, and they suddenly thought, we could build this, you know, we could rebuild it. Because it was all supposed to be around Bobby and Pamela. The feud was supposed to be between Bobby, a member of the Ewing family, and Pamela, a member of the feuding family, the Barnes, getting married, and how this was going to cause war between the two families.
This is supposed to be a quiz. It's not about you and what you know about Dallas. It's until I ask you the question.
Right,
Let me just read you what the actual description of J.R. Ewing's character is that you so slavishly follow.
Right.
He is depicted as a covetous, egocentric, manipulative, and amoral oil baron with psychopathic tendencies, who is constantly plotting subterfuges to plunder his foes and their wealth. And that is entirely correct about you, so I'm not surprised that he's your hero.
He protected the family fortune.
Now, let's go for question number one.
Right,
I've made some of these quite easy. Number one, what does JR stand for?
John Ross.
Correct.
Thank you.
Number two, what were his parents' names?
Jock and Miss Ellie.
Correct, two out of two.
Thank you.
What did it say on his business card? Question three.
On JR's business card?
Yeah.
Oil baron.
Not correct.
What are you laughing at? Well, I never saw his business card. Neither did you. What did
President
it say?
of Ewing Oil.
Well, that's obvious.
It's his job, isn't it?
That's obvious.
No, you got that one wrong.
And anyway, sometimes he was chairman of Ewing Oil. So
That's
stick
right.
that in your pipe and smoke
You got that one wrong.
No,
Number four.
erroneous question.
Not at all.
Erroneous question. Shout, please. Erroneous question.
I'm amazed you're not a better loser after all the experience you've had.
Those are the words of J.R. Ewing. Number four.
And who are they directed at?
They named...
Cliff Barnes.
Yeah, well, it may well be true. Just get the questions right.
Right.
Number four.
Yeah.
Name one of the actresses who played one of his mistresses, and there's a whole host of them, so you can name any number of them.
Okay. Well, his wife was Sue Ellen.
Yeah, I want the real name. I don't want the cast name, the plot name.
Yes, I know. And one of his mistresses was Sue Ellen's sister, who was Mary Crosby.
Correct.
Hey!
Who shot him? Question number five.
Mary Crosby.
What was her character name?
Kirsten.
Kristen.
Kristen.
I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
So you got 4 out of 5 so far.
Hey.
So now we know that the true intellectual capacity of Porky Parry is actually based on a TV soap opera.
No, it's not. It's based on, J.R. Ewing. I tell you, I live my life by the rules of J.R. Ewing.
I should say
that's why I've been so successful.
I should say that you have been asking for a quiz on J.R. Ewing for quite some time.
I haven't been asking at all.
Yes, you have.
You've just been saying to me, I'm running out of ideas. Because you see, you couldn't find something to actually stump me, because I'm smarter than the average bear, and you're basically as thick as my fridge door.
Yeah, well, I dare say that may well be true. There's no need for personal insults. You've only got
Why
4
not?
out of 5.
I'm feeling ecstatic at the way I'm turning you over at the moment, intellectually.
Well, I'm very happy you finally getting something right. Ken.
Yes, please. Yes.
Oh, sorry. How long did Larry Hagman star in the original series of Dallas?
Oh, my God, that's a ridiculous question, but I know the answer.
Do you?
13 seasons.
13 seasons. From what year to what year?
Is it 13 seasons or is it not?
It is 13 seasons.
Thank you very much. That was the question. Thank you. What an answer. That was, that's such a specialist question.
So pathetic.
How did I get that right? I'm punching the air here, folks.
Well, you're probably cheating like you normally do when you get anything right.
How am I cheating?
Well, can you tell us what year that he ran from?
But this isn't for any more points.
Not for any more points.
Oh, right, okay.
Don't worry.
In that case, I'll tell you, it went... Who shot JRU was... I would say it was about... I think it started in 84 and went to about 97.
No, 78
Just get
to
dumber
99.
and dumber every day.
Well, so I'm going to take half a point
No,
off.
you're not, because that was never a part of the original question.
14 seasons is now, I'm being told, the correct answer.
13 seasons, you accepted earlier.
No,
you accepted earlier.
14 seasons conclusive, so you got it wrong.
No,
356
you accepted
episodes.
13.
No, I'm sorry. The adjudicators behind the glass have said
I'm
they
not
can't allow it.
answering any more questions.
2 out of 6. Number 7. JR also...
Hang on, excuse me. 2 out of 6 wrong, you
2
say?
out of 6 wrong, yeah.
It's usually... So you don't want to tell the odds I've got 4 out of 6 right, and 5 out of 6. You said 13, you accepted it. You are a damned... No, you're pathetic. You because when I get the answer... When I get the answer right, you change the blinking answer.
No, I don't.
You dolt.
Number 7. JR always drove the same make of car. What was it?
Well, he didn't always drive the same make of car, but the most popular brand he drove was a Mercedes.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
Number 8. What was the name of his favourite son?
John Ross.
That's not good enough.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
It's John Ross.
That's not his name.
It is John Ross Ewing.
Still not good enough.
Of course it is. That's what he called
He
him.
has one more thing on the end of it.
They were all called John Ross, JR, or whatever, including JR himself. Oh, John Ross Ewing Jr.
Wrong.
John Ross
Wrong.
Ewing II.
Wrong.
John Ross, JR Ewing II. John
Wrong.
Ross Ewing.
No.
Well, what is it then?
It's John Ross Ewing III. So I'm afraid we can't
Rubbish.
allow that one.
Rubbish.
It's not, that's what it is.
Rubbish. That's utter rubbish.
His grandfather was John Ross. JR was John Ross. He's the third.
No, his father was Jock. So you got that wrong.
His real name was John Ross.
I don't care what you're
You got it
saying.
wrong.
No, what you're doing is I'm giving you the right answers, and then
No, that's very specific.
you're extending the question.
No, that's very specific.
You're a
because
damned
you know.
oaf.
Because
You're
you
a
know.
damned oaf.
How many
because
have you got right now?
I tell you what, the audience now will despise you for your despicable,
Not at all. I'm
your
just being exact about
despicable
it.
behaviour in trying to upstage me.
I'm just being exact about
in
it.
my near genius of my subject, knowledge of
John
my
Ross Ewing III, you got it
My
wrong. You said
subject.
it was John Ross Ewing II, so it's wrong. Number 9. How does JR die?
How does JR die? JR doesn't die in the series until the remake of Dallas.
In the remake, yes.
Well, this is not about the remake of Dallas.
It's about JR.
It's not. It's about.
This is a quiz about JR Ewing. How does he die?
In the original series.
How does he die?
He just expires.
Not right.
Why don't you have that junior plastic surgeon you're married to design your new face? One without a mouth.
So what have you got? How many's he got right now?
Plenty.
Is it 5? I
This
think
is
it's 5.
this is nothing to do with me.
It is. The JR stars and from the beginning of his life until the end. 5 so far. So you actually haven't done any better than you always do.
That's a rubbish. This is rubbish. You're constructing.
Number 10.
You're constructing a quiz that doesn't exist, and the invigilators who set the questions. Shameful behaviour.
No, I think this is entirely
Your
correct.
behaviour is shameful.
Correct, entirely correct. Number 10. At its height, how many people in the USA watched the most popular episode? And I'll give you a clue. The most popular episode was Who Shot JR?
Yeah.
So I'm looking for a number and a share, a percentage share of the audience, just in the US. It's not. I'm not asking for the global figure.
The number was 52 million, and the percentage share that night was 58%.
The correct answer is 76% share of the audience and 59 million. I think I'll give
See?
you half a point for that.
Very close.
Oh, very close. I'll
Very,
give you half
very
a close. And would you know that was more than anyone who votes in a USA general election?
Unbelievable.
Who watched one actual episode, which is incredible.
That is unbelievable.
So I can say that you are 5.5%, or 5.5 right out of 10, which I think is
Rubbish.
pretty
Not
miserable for
accepting
your
that.
favourite subject.
Tomorrow morning, the janitor's going to come in here and sweep you out with the rest of the trash. Unless, of course, you do the honorable thing. Get in the elevator, go up the roof, and jump off, huh?
Oh, that's very nice, isn't it? Thank you very much. That's directed at me.
I think we should hear that again. That's brilliant.
You'd like me to do that?
Tomorrow morning, the janitor's going to come in here and sweep you out with the rest of the trash. Unless, of course, you do the honorable thing. Get in the elevator, go up the roof, and jump off, huh?
That's very nice indeed. I think this is a perfect example, and I'm directing this now to our millions of listeners, of the envy, jealousy, malice which old MG directs towards me to try and belittle me in the eyes of our listeners when it's obvious I have an intellectual grasp of affairs which he can't possibly hope to attain.
Yes, well, very eloquent, but sadly, as usual, you only scored around about 50% in a quiz that you're
Liar.
supposed to be an expert in, so absolutely hopeless. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to go across to Las Vegas, of course, the home of all things to do with glitz and glamour. Gareth A. Davis is going to join us to look ahead to that Floyd Mayweather fight coming up, because Floyd Mayweather is a remarkable character, and he's going to tell us all about what we can expect. Sandra Lee's going to join us as well from Australia to give us the lowdown on what's going on down there. A terrible story this week of a guy who was attacked by a shark, and dreadful business. We'll also have a look at what's going on the front pages. We'll do winners and losers of the week as well with Porky. Lots more to come. You can keep your texts coming in to 8 to 1089. You can email us via the website talksport.com, and of course you can find us on social media at the Two Mikes, at Mike Parry 8, at IROMG as well, and we'll take your calls 08717 223344. Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, and you're listening to the Two Mikes on Extra Time. We're keeping you entertained throughout the night. Coming up in this hour, we'll be talking to Gareth A. Davis live from Las Vegas ahead of that massive multi-million-pound fight between Maidana and Floyd Mayweather, of course. We'll be going over to Australia and catching up with our correspondent down there, Sandra Lee. We'll be doing the winners and losers of the week. And, of course, Porky will no doubt be accusing me of fixing the quiz yet again. He only got 5.5 out of 10 on his favourite subject of J.R. Ewing, the psychopath. 08717 22 3344. You're listening to Extra Time with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport Extra Time. William has tweeted at Talk Sport. He says, Mike Parry's talking nonsense, horrible Welsh pronunciations and wrong, but very funny. And then Pete in St Albans, bizarrely,
that's not true.
Says this on 81089. He says, Mike Graham, you need to cut Porky a little bit of slack. Yes, he comes across as dopey, but is really quite intelligent.
Yeah. Well, that's a backhanded compliment, isn't it? By the way, I should have told you that the dialect of Welsh spoken in Patagonia is called Aiflacatahata.
It's 10 pounds, you plunger.
That guy always gets in somewhere, doesn't
I know,
he?
he never fails to make an impression. Quite a few people have tweeted the cave paintings as well from the desert in Chile. So
See?
it's a fascinating
Another point that I've proven to you.
We should actually get an expert on perhaps on those cave paintings and see what they make of them. Here's another one from Kevin who's tweeted at IRMG. Great show, guys. He says, sorry, Porky, though, you're wrong on the champagne. The gas is produced during fermentation.
Yeah, I've said that.
He says wine has release valves on the car, so it is released. They do not put gas in it. So just to make sure that it's amazing how many times Porky is stuck for a word and you always help him out with the missing word. It is hilarious.
Yeah, well, you think it's hilarious. Kevin has hit the nail right on the head. He says, hi, guys, and Mike Parry in particular, that was one of the great quizzes ever. Bad luck, Porky, on the scandalous behaviour of your co-presenter. Scandalous, he calls it. And I think that's a view that most of our millions of listeners will take on that one. Scandalous.
Yeah, well, we didn't actually ask you any questions on some other stories about J.R. Ewing, because, of course, he also went on further. I mean, aside from the fact that Dallas was rejuvenated in 2012.
Yeah. Have you seen the rejuvenated one?
No, I started to watch one episode and I thought, I just can't stand it.
The new series of it started last week, I think.
Oh, did it?
And they've just replaced, the original Dallas characters with all their sons and daughters. You see what I mean? Right. But it just doesn't resonate at all with me whatsoever.
Yeah. And Jacob says, why don't you ask Parry some questions on Falcon Crest? Because there was Knots Landing as well, which was a sort of a follow-on from Dallas, wasn't it?
That was Gary. That was the wayward son. He became an alcoholic, so he left Texas and went and lived in California to try and get over. By the way, the funny thing about an aspect of Dallas is that Sue Ellen, who was JR's much, put on wife, always been committed to sanitariums because JR wanted to get rid of her, so he'd try and set her up as a drunk. She was a drunk, actually, but she didn't need much setting up. But anyway, Mr. Brazil and I were returning from some job somewhere once, came around the M25, coming up through Surrey, came very close to my sister's home. I gave them a call and they said, oh yeah, pop in and have a drink, it'd be nice. It's Sunday afternoon. I think we'd been doing the golf somewhere or something like that, And unfortunately that afternoon, my sister had a couple of glasses, nothing excessive really. No. Couple of glasses, it was very nice and all that kind of stuff. Of course, Al and I didn't drink to excess because we were in the car anyway, so just literally had one glass. But my sister got a little exuberant in the company of Mr. Brazil. And ever since, Al has been calling her Sue Ellen.
Oh, really?
And, which is rather cruel.
That is a bit unfortunate.
Whenever I mention it.
Does she know that?
I think she does now. I think she's become aware of it. Like one time he said, what are you up to today, Porky? I said, I'm going down and see the family. And so, well, Solon be there. And then on one occasion he said, and I with the family this weekend, Porky, down there with your sister and all that. I said, no. I said, she's on holiday, actually. He says, and where's she gone? Couple of weeks in the Betty Ford.
Very cruel. Very cruel. But that was the thing. I mean, Dallas was for a long time. It was the kind of it was the kind of the thing that everybody watched. I mean, it was a Saturday night. It was on here, and I think the entire country used to just sit down and watch it. It was so important. I remember because I was working in the States at the time that it was at its height. And we used to be a season behind, didn't we? So in
Yeah,
America,
yeah.
you'd see the previous
That's
season.
right.
I was once sent by one of the Sunday newspapers to go and get my hands on the scripts for the next
Yeah.
season, which of course was actually 2 years away. But I mean, so much money used to change hands in order to just get your hands on what the storylines were going to be.
It was
incredible.
It was a show by which we all measured our own lives, you know, the glamour and the women and the money and all that kind of stuff. But the other one I read was there's some nomadic tribe that wanders around the Sahara, okay? I don't know what they're called, but I mean they do, with camels and all sorts of things, and they put up tents and all that kind of... Nomadic, I said nomadic tribe. And one year, their annual shift from one sort of location to another because of the change of weather or the floods or something like that was put on hold for 48 hours because the only access to a television they had was in a tree at this place where they were camped.
Right.
They'd wired it up so that they could
Where
get
was
it.
the electricity coming from?
I don't know. I think they had a generator.
Oh, yeah.
I think they had a generator.
Why don't they just take it with them?
Well, I don't know. Perhaps it was a fixed generator or something like that, or I don't know. But the point is, they stopped going for 48 critical hours in which a monsoon could have wiped them out and all this kind of stuff because there was a rebellion amongst the ranks. And the majority of the nomads said we're not going anywhere till we found out who shot JR.
Right.
So it wasn't the episode in which JR was shot, because that was the massive one.
Right.
It was 2 episodes later when they
found out who'd actually done it.
Exactly. Who was Kirsten, as I said in the quiz.
Kristen, yeah.
Kristen, that's
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely right. Now, before we move on from that, because we're going to talk to Gareth A. Davis coming up and Sandra Lee in a little while.
Yeah.
Let's talk about one of these relocation stories. You talk about nomads, because one of the things that's happening nowadays, there was an amazing piece actually that I read the other day about footballers that have to move into new homes and new
That's right.
towns. And there was a bit about David Ginola, your old friend,
David.
Monsieur Ginola,
Right.
who you speak to occasionally on the Breakfast Show.
Yeah.
And he was telling the tale of when he first went to Newcastle to play for Newcastle United.
Yes.
Well,
you would, I suppose, if you moved to Newcastle. I suppose you're a footballer. It's pretty logical to play for Newcastle United.
Well, I just thought I'd make the point, just to be exact.
Yeah.
And he lived in a hotel for about 6 weeks before he finally managed to move his wife over.
That would have been down on the quayside.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure which hotel.
I know which one it is.
But he said
I've stayed
Kevin
there a few
Keegan
times.
was very good to him. He said Kevin Keegan understood how what it's like because he'd played in Hamburg. He knew what it was like to be away from his family. He said, "You go back to Paris as much as you like." He said when he finally brought his wife to Newcastle, he was driving her around the streets of Newcastle, telling her about the town and where they were going to live. And apparently she burst into tears.
Why?
Because she hated the look of the place so much.
What, Newcastle?
Yeah.
Newcastle's a beautiful city.
Yeah, I know. Well, she didn't like
a fantastic city.
She didn't like it.
You know, it's a lot of its architecture is inspired by Scottish architects. A lot of it's built from granite.
Yeah.
It has a fantastic geophysical location where the city's up there, but it trails away down to the harbour, to the quayside, to the River Tyne, obviously. It's on the edge of the Northumbria National Park. It's got the coast road that goes down to Wallsend and Tynemouth and Whitley Bay. It's a fantastic
Well, I guess
place,
if she came to
Newcastle.
the Côte d'Azur, then maybe she didn't quite like it. But the reason I'm talking about this, though, is because of the fact that so many kids now are not going to be able to move out of the house that they're in with their parents, and that's where the problem lies, right? Because they literally can't afford to buy a house.
No.
I was watching that show earlier on tonight, that's the one where people go and sort of buy their dream home or whatever it is, and there was a couple who wanted to buy a place in London, and they were looking for a 2-bedroom flat with this, that and the other, and a 2-bedroom flat in somewhere like Brixton was about £500,000.
Oh yeah, it would be. My mum, God bless her, who's over 80 now. She often says to me, all this running around you do, coming up from Surrey and working at Talksport, why don't you buy yourself a little place round the corner from your studios?
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm quite happy where I am, Mum, in Surrey here, because it's near to the rest of the family and all that kind of stuff, and it's on a quick route for me to get to my other home, which is in Portsmouth, just up and down the A3. She said, just get yourself a little place around the corner. So I said, well, I'm not really bothered about that, Mum. I'd have to sell this place. Well, what do you sell it for? What do you have to sell your place in Epsom for? You've got plenty of property. And I said, well, it's talking about cost. And she said, oh, no. She said, what are you talking about? She says, it's nothing to you to spend 20 or 30,000 on a little place just to get your head down after you've done your shows
What do you
in
think
town.
you want to buy a garage? For the car?
Look, I didn't go explain that to her. My mum's over 80. She lives down on the coast in Bournemouth. She wouldn't understand the property values. But what I'm saying is, if I'd have said to her, Mum, for anything that even resembled a civilised 1-bedroom flat, you are, a walking distance from our studios, you are talking £300,000. At least 350.
Well, do you remember that
maybe
house, that little townhouse that became available just around the corner here in that street that they often film in?
That was over $1 million.
Like a street in from the 60s.
That was over $1 million.
It was over $1 million.
I went and looked at it.
And you got nowhere to park your car either.
I just couldn't believe it. I mean, to explain the houses, the front cover of Maybe Would Be, or whatever it's called, the
Definitely
Oasis.
Maybe.
Definitely Maybe, that's right, yeah.
Maybe Would Be.
Yeah, well...
they went with that title first, and then decided they didn't like it.
Well,
so make it something else.
But, that street that it's the picture's taken in, it's very much like the street round the corner. And to explain to our listeners, because I'm very good at colourising, images... It's a street that used to be used by railway workers from Waterloo Station. Yeah. So they are literally terrace cottages next to each other.
Workmen's cottages,
Workmen's cottages, but they go back a long way.
Two up, two down.
They are two up, two down at the front, but they've all put extensions on the back, so they've actually got about 4 bedrooms now and a big long kitchen at the back and a conservatory, because they had big yards in those days. They didn't have big houses, but they had big yards at the back. There's plenty of room, and those yards have now been built up. But anyway, I went in one to look at it, because I was thinking of buying one. They're only it's a walking distance from the studios here, and I thought that would be very handy indeed. And I went, and A, it wasn't fitted out well inside. Yeah. B, I mean, they're so small, Mike, that the stairs to get you from the ground floor to the first floor are there's only about 8 stairs, literally. They are tiny little places, right? But they're in a great location. So when I said, I'm thinking about it, I said, what's this on the market at? And I thought it would be about 620,000 or something like that. Right. Over $1 million. It was nearly double. It's 1.1 million.
Ridiculous. Well, this study
I said nobody will pay 1.1 million for this. Anyway, 2 days later it went sold. It was sold. Yeah,
I'm sure it has been.
Yeah.
This study that was done recently found that 1 in 6 adults aged 18 to 24 who lived in the family home did so because it gave them an easier life. But that doesn't give anything like the number of people. They think 2.1 million boomerang children in this country who basically they go out to university, but then they end up moving back in with their folks because they literally can't afford to do anything else.
Yeah, there's 2 aspects to this story. You're right. One, those who can't afford to move out. But what I found astonishing are those who go back with their folks in their late 20s, still there in their early 30s, and then don't want to move out. Where do they get their independence? If you meet a new girlfriend, where do you go for your intimate relationship? Can't go home if your mum and dad are sleeping in the next bedroom or watching the telly downstairs while you fancy a bit of, physicality upstairs, can you?
No, absolutely
you can't.
Not.
You can't.
It's a massive quandary.
It's not right.
Who knows what they
do?
Luckily, we don't have to worry about that sort of thing. Coming up next here on the 2 Mics on Extra Time, it's Sandra Lee down in Australia.
And she said, do you come from a land down under? Women go and men wonder. Can't you hear the thunder? You better run, you better take cover.
This is Talk Sports Extra Time. We are the 2 Mics, Mike Parry and Mike Graham. There will be a podcast available a little bit later on. It's time for us now to go down to our regular correspondent down in Sydney, Australia, Miss Sandra Lee. Sandra, very good morning to you.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Yeah, hiya, Sandra. Great to hear from you again.
Now, we've got a sort of a terrible story to talk about with you this week, and it's this dreadful shark attack on a guy who was actually a British expat who was killed in a shark attack just off Byron Bay. Last time I checked, they were still trying to chase the shark out to sea. Is that still going on?
Yes, I think they've managed to scare off the shark. It's now said to be miles out to sea and not likely to be coming back to that part of Byron Bay anytime soon. But how can they tell? These great creatures do what they want to do, and there's no shark nets to keep them out, and pretty much they're in their own domain.
I find it astonishing, Sandra, knowing the country. I've been there 2 or 3 times, and the fear that people have of alligators and sharks and that kind of stuff. How could anybody be so silly as to take no precautions whatsoever in an area that does have sharks? I mean, this guy said before he went swimming, there's a 99.9% chance I'll never see a shark in this bay. And then all of a sudden his legs get bitten off and he bleeds to death in the water. How can people be so damn complacent in a country which is surrounded by sharks?
Well, I think they just are, and I think most people take their risk. It's interesting that you say, Mike, that he was, he says there was no chance of ever being bitten by a shark in that area, because there is a group of local swimmers up there. They call themselves the Stingrays. And whenever they go out every morning, they swim every morning, and they always say to each other, okay, everyone's got to keep on the lookout for sharks, because they know well and truly that they're there, and they also know that, you take a risk if you go into their waters.
Yeah. Do they not have, in some parts of Australia they have shark nets, don't they, which I've always been slightly puzzled by, because they don't actually link up. They put them in the water in a particular direction, a particular pattern, on the basis that sharks only swim in one direction. Did they not have any shark nets at Byron Bay?
Yeah, not at Byron Bay. They don't have them, and it is a huge piece of bay where these chaps were swimming, or this chap was swimming across. And in fact, the stingrays that I mentioned, they'd been out about an hour earlier, and they reported that they hadn't seen anything. And then all of a sudden, here's this juvenile white pointer out there swimming in an area that is really well known for having sharks.
There was apparently an heroic attempt to try and help this guy. Some fella got on a paddleboard and paddled out. I have to say that if I thought a great white shark was, messing about in the water and already taken a leg off a swimmer, I'd think twice about getting onto that paddleboard.
You're not a very heroic character.
I think you've got to be quite pragmatic about these things. But is that the kind of attitude, Sandra, that Australians have to have towards sharing their country, with a lot of predators like alligators and crocodiles and sharks?
Yep, I think most Australians do have that view. It's interesting because only this very week, over in Western Australia last year, they instituted this ridiculous policy that most Australians considered ridiculous of baiting sharks in an area which was well known for having loads of sharks, and they put out baited drums, drum lines they called it. And earlier this year, there was a major outcry from the public saying this is just, it's completely uncivil. Why are we doing this to the sharks? And this week, the Environmental Protection Agency and the CSIRO, which is our leading scientific body, came back and said the drum lines are a complete failure, it's bad policy, and the risk to the shark is greater than the risk to humans. So they've all been pulled out.
So was the reason for doing that to try and sort of bring them into sort of plain view, as it were, and then kill them, or what?
No, they're protected, aren't they? Aren't they protected?
Yeah, the great white is protected, and they were. But the Western Australia government said that in the last 3 years, with 7 deaths, they had to do something, and they did put the drum lines in. They killed 172 sharks, only 3 of which fitted the bill, and not one of them was a great white.
Golly.
So it was.
Shocking.
Because that's the other thing. You'd think that when something like this happens, the shark in question, a bit like sort of dangerous dogs law here, a dog would be put down if it had bitten somebody in that way.
Sure.
But the protection is such that they just have to chase the shark out back into the sea, which seems kind of crazy to me.
And it goes. Sandra, what is the protective network that allows people to swim all the time on Bondi Beach, which is, the most famous tourist resort in Australia?
It is the most famous tourist resort, and only last year we had a shark attack there as well, so that's not even protected. There's not a single shark net out there at Bondi.
Oh, blimey. That's, as Mike has just said, that's kind of tempting fate a bit, isn't it?
It really is, and I swim down at Bondi quite a lot, and I always think, should we go in? And what you do is you don't go in at dusk when there's a greater risk because you can't see what's around you, and you don't go in sort of before dawn.
See, I don't think I'd go in at all.
No, that's what Mike said is just echo what I was thinking. I'm there must be something about the Australian psyche where you've just conditioned yourselves that at some stage you have to take a risk in life.
Yeah, isn't it true, though, that you guys don't like to get wet? Just kidding.
Yes, we don't like to get wet unless it involves a bit of gin and tonic, but, you're absolutely right. And talking about that, Sandra, we want to move on to a much more pleasant subject, and that is Mike and I have been debating the true constituency...
Oh, we haven't really been debating.
Yeah, we have. The true constituency of Champagne, OK? Because young Mike here, and this will remind you of your New York days, decided to become Flash Harry this week, went into a bar, bought a bottle of Bollinger for £100.
It's not £100.
He's earning too much money, Sandra. He's earning too much money. And then we debated about, what is real champagne, because over here in the UK we have Prosecco becoming increasingly popular. But what's the status of champagne and the ability and the legality of producing bottles of champagne in Australia and calling them champagne?
Well, we're not allowed to. We have to call it sparkling wine down here, and that's what it does get called, either sparkling wine or if there is a hideous thing known as a sparkling burgundy. Can you imagine?
Really?
That is truly, that's truly
awful.
reprehensible.
Yeah.
No, it's like drinking dishwater. But we're not allowed to call it champagne either. So if you want to buy a drop of Australian bubbly, you have to ask for sparkling wine.
And you can get that here, actually. I mean, you can buy it. It's actually not bad. But no, the reason we were having this debate was because Porky was trying to attempt to explain to me, even though I'd visited the calves in Reims to see how champagne was made, that they somehow inject gas into it, which of course they don't do. It's the fermentation process that makes the champagne.
Well, I know that.
No,
I
well, you know
that.
it now because you've been told.
I knew it.
But,
I knew it.
And I said to him, you're not allowed to call it champagne unless it's made from the Champagne region in France and from Champagne grapes. But it's I mean, in this country now, champagne is it's still sort of popular and lots of people still drink it. But there's been a massive influx of things like Prosecco and
Where's
sparkling
that come
wine.
from? Is that from
Prosecco's
Italy?
Italian.
Italian, yeah, you see. Yeah.
I mean, do you still drink as much champagne as you used to, Sandra? I seem to remember you didn't mind the odd glass of bubbly.
Yes, I don't mind a little drop of the old bubbly. I'm a bit of a champagne girl myself, but Prosecco is starting to take off down here, but not as much as what it is over in Europe.
No. So you can get French champagne in Australia, but if I went into...
Well, it's not Mars, is it?
No. I'm talking about the prohibitive cost of shipping it all the way from France
not prohibitive.
to Australia. What I'm saying is, if I went into the Hyatt on the Rocks, my favourite watering hole in Sydney, Sandra, and asked for a bottle of the old
bottle of Bollinger.
Dom Perignon or Bollinger or something there, what would that knock me back?
Knock you back a couple of $100 Australian dollars.
Well, there you go.
If you wanted to buy it just at your local bottle shop, it's sort of around in Aussie dollars about $50 to $70.
Yeah, but I mean $200. Yeah, $200 in a cocktail bar for a bottle of.
Well, that's about the same as it is here.
Pretty expensive. What is it? 2 to 1, is it?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but I mean that's where they make their money, those pubs, isn't it? Or through the booze.
Sure. No, absolutely. I mean, the wine industry is massively important to the Australian economy, isn't it, in terms of exporting it?
Oh, it's huge. And in fact, there's a couple of wineries in Australia that literally make wine only to export, and they're incredibly popular. One of them is it's got a kangaroo on the bottle. I can't remember what it's called. Nobody here would even drink it, but it's hugely popular in America.
no, you would drink it in Australia. So you ship it out to those Yanks who don't know they...
Well, they probably sell it here as well.
Probably think it's Alka-Seltzer. Jacob's Creek's my favourite brand down there.
You've got to get more.
Oh,
He spent his entire life, he spent the entire show tonight, Sandra, advertising various different things. He hopes to get a free case of it. Sandra, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks,
We've got
Sandra.
to go. Have a lovely weekend. I mean, this is the case in France. I mean, when you go to France, I know you don't like to travel because there's no point because you don't like holidays. But when you go to France and you go to
What do you
Italy,
mean I don't like to travel? I've travelled all over the world.
Yeah, I know, but you don't like to do it as a holiday.
No, I don't. I can't see the point of going and sitting on a beach.
But every place you go, I mean, like one of the things...
Sand in your sandwiches.
One of the most
fantastic
pleasant. Things that you can get in France is this Crémant de Crémant, which is like champagne, except it's not actually champagne. It's sort of a French sparkling wine, but it's
Crémant de Crémant.
You can buy it a lot on the south coast.
Ooh la la.
Ooh la la is right. But it's fantastic. But it's very, very hard to get in this country because they just don't bother exporting it. And every place you go, every wine region in France that you go, you can find much better wine there that they ever send here. And I'm sure it was the same in South Africa.
Wolf Blass. That's the one I've just remembered. Wolf Blass. Is that Australian?
Yeah. Yellowtail was
Yellowtail, Wolf Blass. Yeah,
Wolf Blass is a good one. So do you want to issue any more brand names out while you're at it?
Just man of the world. Come across these things in all parts of the globe. It's as simple as that.
I know you do. Well, we're going to another part of the globe coming up because Gareth A. Davis is live in Las Vegas.
Excellent.
He's going to tell us about the Mayweather fight coming up. It's going to be a massive weekend over in Nevada. This is TalkSport. Coming up on TalkSport, we're going to be talking to Gareth A. Davis. One of the big winners, of course, of the boxing world is Floyd Mayweather. We're going to be talking about his big fight coming up this weekend in Las Vegas. Before that, though, it is time for the winners and losers of the week. And Mr. Parry, I suppose I ought to go first, given that you'll probably still be compiling yours. I'm not sure if you've actually got them all completely and utterly sorted out. You often accuse me of actually doing things which are completely and utterly obvious.
Yeah.
And you may well do that again. But I'm prepared for that, frankly.
Right.
And as you know, we have to do is agree on who's the big winner and who's the big loser of the week. And my first big loser of the week is Danny Welbeck. You might think he would be a winner because he scored 2 goals for England, but actually, I'll tell you why he's a loser. First of all, Arsene Wenger comes out and gives this basically kind of strange interview in which he said that, you know, if I'd actually been in the country, we wouldn't have signed Danny Welbeck. He came out and said that basically because I was at the Vatican and they couldn't get a hold of me, I thought we were going to get him on loan, but instead, because they couldn't get hold of me, they've ended up bringing him in as a sort of as a permanent signing, which I found very strange.
How can you possibly rate him as a loser after his week?
Well, hang on, because then Louis van Gaal has come out and said that we got rid of Danny Welbeck because he's not good enough for Manchester United.
Well, I think Louis van Gaal's more of a loser. Right, you want my first loser?
Yeah, go on.
My first loser are the fans of Hull City, because if their owner, Asim Milan, goes ahead with his threat to sell the club, then what a disaster that is for a team that was pulled up by its bootlaces by this great local businessman who now might take umbrage and go.
Well, you know, the bizarre thing about that is that's my second loser of the week, so we've already agreed on one.
Really?
That's incredible.
Amazing.
Well, I'll give you the other one which I've got here, because I agree with you, because as much as Hull City fans thought that, I know most of them do think that Asim Milan's done a great job, but they went up against him over the name, and now he's sort of taking umbrage and he's going to walk away, which is not very good.
Yeah, but I'm saying the fans are the losers, not him.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
I'm saying exactly the same thing. We've actually agreed on it, as much as that might sound weird to you. The next loser for me, the other one, is this golfer. I don't know if you saw this story in the papers this morning. Alexandra Kaleka. He was hit basically by a golf ball. It was a KLM Open in Holland yesterday, and he was struck by this. Actually, sorry, I tell a lie. It was Fabrizio Zanotti.
Can you get this right, please?
I'm sorry. I just mixed their names up there. Easy to do. It was Alexandra Kaleka that was driving the ball, and he drove the ball and hit this guy on the head with it, and the guy's okay, but he was knocked out for a while. He was taken to hospital, and I've never heard of another golfer actually being hit by a fellow golfer on the same golf course.
But he's got a bump on his head.
He has.
Yeah, indeed.
So that's my other loser.
Okay, my other loser is Caroline Wozniacki. You know, Wozniacki, who is the former girlfriend of Rory McIlroy.
Yes. Struggling with that surname.
That relationship is over. It should have gone now, be dead and buried. They've both prospered in their respective careers since, but now she's decided to come out, have that little dig that women sometimes do for the ex-boyfriend, and said, oh, great thing about not going out with Rory is I can wear my heels now, putting him down as being too small. Sorry, Caroline, you let yourself down there, you're a loser.
So you think that's a bit of a personal one you've got there?
Well, it's not personal.
Some women may have said that about you.
Yeah, no.
Well, shall we agree on Hull City fans being the big losers of the weekend?
Let's agree on Hull City fans.
All right, let's do the winners then.
Okay, go on.
Now, you'll like this one, because, again, I'm not going to be too obvious. This is not nothing to do with sport, but Rolls-Royce are the winners for me this week, because Rolls-Royce sales have accelerated, 35 million vehicles crowding the roads, because the recovery has somehow moved up a gear. But sales of Bentleys, Rolls-Royces and other luxury cars have surged this year. Apparently, 943 Bentleys were bought in the first half of this year, compared with 692 during the first 6 months. And Rolls-Royce sold 260 models during the first half of 2014 compared to 196. So don't tell me there's no money knocking around.
No, that's absolutely fantastic.
What's your first one?
My first one, big winner, Prince Harry, for organising the Invictus Games.
That's a good.
Magnificent thing to have done. Did it in just 3 months, whereas Olympic Games take 6 years to organise, you know. And he did it because of his allegiance to his fellow servicemen. A magnificent effort. Well done, Prince Harry.
OK, tell us your second one as well.
The second one is Kelly Brook, because not only do I think she's the most beautiful woman in the world, but she's got a book out, which she's plugging at the moment, and one of the best stories in the book, highlighted by all the papers, is she whacked 2 of her previous boyfriends, Danny Cipriani and Jason Statham, because they upset her, so she gave them a bunch of 5s, and I have to say, a feisty woman like that, she's the sort of woman who could have been a contender to be the FMP, the first Mrs. Parry.
You're saying may have passed you by. I'm going to say one of Joan Rivers' pet dogs are the big winners, because she's left £90 million in her fortune. She died last week, of course, as we know, after suffering from complications in hospital. And she's left most of the money to her daughter Melissa, the grandson she worshipped, but she's also left a bunch of the money to her pet dogs, who are going to be kept in the lap of luxury for the rest of their lives, which I think is rather nice.
Well, it is rather nice indeed.
You've got time for one more.
Well, I have, but you see, my third winner is your first loser, Danny Welbeck.
Oh, really?
I said
well, maybe you can convince me.
I think he is a winner, because what happened is he has been released by Manchester United. He's been ditched and dumped by them. What's his response to that? Well, he's not going around moping. He puts on an England shirt, scores 2 goals, rescues English football, literally rescues English football, is somewhat of a national hero now, and will be turning out next in the Premier League in an Arsenal shirt. For me, that guy was supposed to be subjected to a bit of a humiliation and told that your career's going downhill. It's not, it's going uphill. That's the sign of a winner.
OK, my final one is the perfect retirement spot, and I know that you're many, many years away from retiring, but this will maybe sound familiar to you, because the best part of the world, apparently, to retiring, and you've often talked about Northumbria, perhaps, as the place to go.
Yes.
Apparently it's Dorset, particularly the Jurassic Coast.
I know it well.
It's not a million miles from where your family live.
I know it well. I know it well. I've been along there, and it is a beautiful spot, I have to say. Absolutely good.
Good. Is that all? We've done all 3? I quite like your...
No, I didn't do my third loser.
What is your third one,
my third loser. My third loser,
winner.
Right.
No, you're on winners now.
Yeah, but oh no, I've done my third. I've done my winners. Kelly Brook, Prince Harry, and Danny Welbeck. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to vote for Prince Harry, because I think he's a great winner
Good
of
idea.
the Invictus Games.
And we're both agreed on the loser, the Hull City fans.
Yeah, absolutely right. Those are the winners
Sorted.
and losers for
Sorted.
this week. This is Talk Sports Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is, of course, Mike Parry. We are the two Mikes. There will be a podcast out a little bit later on this morning. We're going to be talking football coming up in the next hour. Right now, though, we're going live to Las Vegas to find Gareth A. Davies of Her Majesty's Daily Telegraph, because the massive, massive fight there this weekend, of course, is Floyd Mayweather and Marcos Maidana, two fighting for a whole multitude of world titles. Gareth, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Very good morning to you, gents. Thanks for dragging me off the tables.
Yeah, not at all. I hope you were losing, and in that case, we might think we're doing you a favour.
Indeed.
It's probably the other way around. No, I've just been at a media dinner. I'm just just ran back to my room to see you guys, or to speak to you guys. As you know, it's always great to be here. I'm looking out on the MGM Grand from my hotel, and there's an 18-story high poster of Floyd Mayweather, the home of Floyd Mayweather, and he really has made this place his home. I'm sure the other Mike has got views on Floyd Mayweather, because he's a very, very polarising character.
Oh, he's an incredible bloke. We'll come to that in a minute. His lifestyle is just staggering, Gareth, and I've seen the way this guy is so extravagant with his money that he's got so many homes in America he can't often remember where he is, so he colour codes his fleet of cars in each different location. So, for instance, in Vegas they're all white, but down in Miami they're all black, in Connecticut they're green. Amazing.
Yeah, and of course he's got this extraordinary betting, gambling
habit.
Business that he does. Well, he only tells us when he wins, doesn't he? But like all big gamblers, and you just wonder, don't you? He's earning $64 million a year for 2 fights, a 6-fight deal with Showtime. You just wonder. People like Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield earn hundreds of millions of dollars, and now in their 40s, late 40s, or early 50s even, I think in the case of Holyfield, I think he's nearly 50 or just over 50, they haven't got a lot of money, and I just wonder with Money Mayweather, whether that extravagance, it's fine, as you well know, Mike Parry, when you're earning the millions, you can spend the millions.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when you're not earning the millions, you can't.
Well, the biggest problem, which we all run into, is when you stop earning the millions but keep spending the millions, that is the recipe for disaster, and that's where these guys go wrong when their accountant turns around and says, what about the $30 million tax bill?
Yeah. Exactly right. But he's 37 now. I mean, I see that he's said for the first time, as far as I'm aware, that he's now only got 2 more fights left after Maidana 2. Because when we spoke a bit earlier in the week, Gareth, you thought perhaps there might be a Maidana 3 if it's a close fight, or even if Maidana manages to beat him for the first time. And what about this whole Pacquiao situation? He's now denying that that's going to be the next fight as well, isn't he?
Yeah, it's funny. I had a piece yesterday, it might have been earlier today, and I've lost track of time a little bit, with Bob Arum saying that we will do anything for Manny Pacquiao to fight him. We'll do drugs testing. We'll do in his venue. We'll do it where he wants to do it. We'll do it when he wants to do it. But Arum saying the TV companies, he's saying will do it. But Mayweather is running from Pacquiao. He's saying I really hope his last 2 fights are going to be Amir Khan and then Manny Pacquiao in May and September next year, because frankly, there are a couple of other people in the frame, people like Danny Garcia and Keith Thurman. Danny Garcia yet to move up to welterweight, but he's cleaned out the light welterweight division. And again, I don't think it'll be an exciting boxing match. Thurman would be a good fight, but Amir Khan's style and obviously Manny Pacquiao would be two fantastic fights to go out on, and of course draw equal with that Marciano record of 49-0 when he, of course, tragically died in a plane crash off. But the funny thing is, of course, if Floyd Mayweather wins on Saturday night, he equals Joe Calzaghe's record as well, which is fantastic.
What has been the problem over the years, in a nutshell, Gareth, about getting the Manny Pacquiao fight on?
There's two things that really were the stumbling blocks. The fight came very close to being made. One was the fact that Bob Arum promoted Floyd Mayweather for 10 years, and promoter and boxer really don't get on at all. There is no love lost between them. And Mayweather does not want to be involved in a promotion around Bob Arum because there is bad blood between them. The second one, when they did get close to doing it, was that Mayweather demanded blood testing all the way up to the bout. And Pacquiao said, I don't want needles in me a couple of days before the bout because I'm allergic and scared of needles. They've got over that hurdle now. I mean, I think it was jockeying at the time, and they thought it was a kind of a poker game. They were bluffing each other. But Mayweather, you see, doesn't, as he's proven, doesn't need Bob Arum. He said, look what I've done since I left Bob Arum. He's approaching, I think it's just over towards $300 million in career earnings dollars. And he says, look what I've done. And in a way, Mayweather's so carefully managed by this guy called Al Heyman, his principal agent. He's the best boxer in the world, but he almost holds boxing to ransom. People still continue to watch his pay-per-views in America, pay-per-view events. He's on this huge deal, $32 million a fight. Just think about that.
It's just an extraordinary thing.
Huge transfer fees. We talk about we're always talking about huge transfer fees for footballers. This guy is grossing $64 million a year. He doesn't need endorsement companies. He doesn't need sponsorship companies. It's an extraordinary amount of money.
Because that's the unusual thing about him, isn't he? He's one of those big. I mean, he's always at the top of the leaderboard in terms of wealthiest sportsmen in the world because he does it, and he does it uniquely, just with his prize money and not with any kind of sponsorship. Because of the problems that he gets into, I guess, outside of the ring, he's not a particularly saleable commodity, perhaps for various.
He's not saleable, Mike. He's not saleable in a kind of corporate way, but he's an incredible marketeer. He's
sure. What I'm saying is he's marketable in the ring, but what I'm saying is I suppose companies don't want to necessarily be associated with him unless he does something, not so much what he's done before, but he's a bit unpredictable. But is he still the massive draw? I mean, obviously this is a huge fight. It goes out early hours of Sunday morning, our time. It's going to be on Box Nation, and you'll hear all about it right here on Talk Sport, of course. But I mean, is there any sense that he's still the king? I mean, does it showing any sign of waning at all?
It's been a slow burner this week, I've got to admit, but the people are starting to roll in now. It's Thursday night, it's the time when all the fur coats and the bling and all of that kind of thing comes into town. It's always around when Mayweather's around. The press room today was absolutely jam-packed. On the undercard, of course, is Leo Santa Cruz, the Mexican super bantamweight, who, we spoke about Carl Frampton before, about how brilliant he was at the weekend. He's in the same division. He's the undefeated WBC super bantamweight champion. He's a big draw for the Mexicans as well, and the Hispanics in this part of the world. And so they have put a decent undercard together. But, the thing is, Marcos Maidana, look, what they do now is they go on an 8-city media tour. They build it up over a period of time. The TV companies marketeer it. And so when it comes to fight week, there are no end of stories. In a way, the allegations in the lawsuit of assault and battery that came out on Monday from an ex-partner only served to really put Mayweather on the top of the news. Then he was out there criticizing that American sports star who's, that terrible video of his girlfriend very drunk in the lift with him.
Shocking. Knocked her out and dragged her out the lift and everything. Time is short, Gareth. Just one last thing to tell you about my research into Floyd Mayweather. Listen to this. Floyd has 2 private jets, one for him and the other for his 4-man security team. He fears that if he shares the same Gulfstream 5 aeroplane that cost around £10 million second-hand with his bodyguards, their combined weight could pull him out of the sky. His bodyguards are Big Church, Big A, Big Pat and Jethro, who range in size from 3XL collar shirts to 7XL, and they weigh in at a staggering combined weight of 105 stone.
No, I've been around those guys. One of them's about 7'2", the other's about 6'10", and they're not like basketball shape. They are, let's say they're Mike and Mike, 6'10" and 7'2".
Hey, bit off.
You had to see that one coming, Paul. You have to say.
And do you know what? The funny thing is, I've just tweeted this. I've just been. The reason I was slightly late for the call, and I do apologise about that, was
no problem.
I went to the Mayweather gym after meeting some of the media guys for a dinner, and I've just tweeted the picture. All is quiet at the Mayweather gym, and sometimes those 4 giant men are just standing outside the door while he does a late night pad session. But it was all quiet on the Mayweather front tonight in Chinatown here in Las Vegas. But I tell you what, it's going to explode come Saturday night.
That won't last.
Fantastic
Absolutely.
stuff.
Gareth, thanks ever so much, pal.
Thank you very much indeed. Gareth A. Davis live from Las Vegas, which will be all about Mayweather come this weekend. It's Sunday night, early hours of the morning, around about 4 o'clock.
Let me tell you something else about Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
He walks around with never less than $50,000 in his pocket.
In cash?
In cash.
Right.
Literally in notes, you know what I mean? What's the biggest denomination note you can get of a...
I think it's $100, isn't it?
I think it's 100. So 100, that's 10. So 50,000, 10 for 1,000, 50... He must have 500 note bills in his pockets when he goes out. Unbelievable. He says he never goes out with less than 50 grand.
Yeah.
And sometimes if he sees a bum in the street, he might give him like 10 grand.
Well, this is why he's such a sort of legendary figure, because, I mean, he's got that glamour that people in America love. He seems to be almost in sort of unstoppable, no matter what the scandal, comes around him, no matter what emanates around him. It's just an incredible kind of circus. That's
unbelievable.
And he brings, I mean, that's why they love him in Las Vegas, because whenever he has a fight, I mean, you say, Gareth there saying that he makes sort of $35 million a fight. Yeah. It's because he brings all this money in, and these high rollers come in. Everyone in Hollywood will be there this weekend.
That's right.
And I wonder if it might just be the fight that he loses, though. Well, he's 46-0. I mean, at some point or other, he's going to have to lose.
What about this? It is claimed that he wears trainers only once and then leaves them in hotel rooms for cleaning staff. Although they look like a pair of ordinary trainers, they can be worth a few $1,000s because they are signed by Floyd Mayweather.
So he leaves them like a tip?
He leaves them like a tip. He only wears them once. His yearly underwear bill is roughly $6,000, but he does not go green with his smalls by sending them to the laundry. Instead, they're thrown out after one wear. So he never wears a pair of, pants once and then throws them away.
Astonishing.
Well, I do that sometimes, to be honest. Yeah, if I think they don't fit properly or a bit too tight or a bit too loose. Well,
I don't really want to know about that.
No, well, I'm just saying, I can understand his need to feel...
buy the right size.
Comfortable. Well, you can't always buy the right size.
You could wear those funny Velcro shoes that you wear. You could leave those behind as well, because nobody would want them. No. If you left those for somebody in a hotel room, they'd think they were picking up the rubbish.
All I'm saying is, size in one brand might be different to size in another brand. So, you've got to get it right, haven't you? You know what I mean?
Now, coming up in the next hour, we're going to be talking to Ian Bishop, former Man City and West Ham midfielder, on the Arsenal-Man City game. But we haven't got a couple of minutes here. Why don't we do the predictor test? Because your predictions are, of course, legendary. And we're going to start off, of course, with the early game tomorrow, which is Arsenal against Manchester City. I'm saying Arsenal 1, Manchester City 3, despite Danny Welbeck. You're going to have to be quick.
I'm going to say Arsenal 2, Manchester City 1.
Really? Chelsea-Swansea, the two teams at the top of the table next.
Yeah, that's his home, isn't it, Chelsea?
It is.
Yeah.
That's why I said them first.
Yeah, 3-0.
I've got 2-0 to Chelsea, so they'll be the 12 pointers then. They'll have put 4 games, 4 wins. Crystal Palace against Burnley. I've got Crystal Palace 1 under Neil Warnock, Burnley 0.
Yeah, I think that's pretty close. I'd say 2-1. Crystal Palace 2, Burnley 1.
Southampton 2, Newcastle 1 is my next one.
I would go for Southampton 2, Newcastle 2.
OK, and so will that be enough to save Alan Pardew? I don't know, we shall see. Stoke City 2, Leicester 2 is my next one.
No, I would go Stoke City 3, Leicester 1.
Sunderland 1, Tottenham 2.
No, I'll go Sunderland 2, Spurs 1, still rocked by the 3-0 mauling in their last game.
You think so, really?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
West Brom against Everton. I know what you're going to say here.
Well, you don't, but I'm going to say West Brom 1, Everton 3.
Yeah, I knew you'd say that. I'm going to say West Brom 1, Everton 1. I don't think Everton have got any firepower at the moment. Liverpool against Aston Villa, which is the live TalkSport...
Paid 28 million for Lukaku.
Well, that's what I mean. You haven't got any firepower. Liverpool against Aston Villa, live TalkSport commentary game, 5:30 tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah.
I've got Liverpool 2, Aston Villa 1.
I think that will be Liverpool 1, Aston Villa 0.
And the big game, of course, that's coming up is Manchester United against QPR. The first game probably for Falcao and Di Maria to play together with Van Persie and Rooney. I'm saying that Man United will win it, but not by much. Man United 2, QPR 1.
Yeah, I think that's about right. I'll go a little bit further than that. I'll say Manchester United 3, QPR 1.
All right, and finally Hull, who are now possibly for sale and may have to find themselves a new owner. They're at home to West Ham.
Yeah.
What do you fancy for that one?
I have to fancy Hull 2, West Ham 1, and I think that could be very, very dangerous territory for Sam.
It could well be. Well, I've got Hull 2, West Ham 0 as well. So that won't be very good news for the Moose. I'm sure you'll be very disappointed to hear that. That was the Two Mikes podcast.
Yes, it certainly was. Don't forget, it's out every Tuesday and every Friday morning on iTunes.
And you can follow us at the Two Mikes.
So keep listening for more of MG's loose morals. Believe me, this boy hasn't got a moral fibre in his body.
And more of his bizarre buffoonery.
What?